Yo, people always ask me what kind of frames I'm rocking. I've been rocking Caddis for a couple years. They make amazing progressive readers, which I wear. Also, they make sunglass readers, anti-glare, anti-smudge coating, anti-scratch, and anti-aging. That's why I look mad young when I wear them. I'm just kidding. But they make amazing frames. Caddis, so stoked to have you guys part of the podcast. You can go to caddislife.com/Toby10 and get $10 off your first purchase. Stoked. Thank you, Caddis. Welcome to the fam. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. Check. Welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I have a very special guest in my kitchen. We've been trying to do this for almost a year, maybe even longer. No thanks to the pandemic. But thank you for being there, Mr. Christian Jacobs.
Hey. Yeah, Toby, here. What's up, man?
We finally did it. We've been talking so long about this.
It's true.
Trying to make it happen.
I can't even remember when we first started talking about it. Probably back when we were in the midst of my podcast, because we wanted to have you on, because my podcast was World's Best Dad, and I was doing it with my buddy Jimmy, my skate pal from teenage skate years, Jimmy Arrighi.
Where'd you do that at? Where was it at?
We did it all over because we wanted to get fancy, and I mean we had plans. Like we had some plans. Okay, 2018 we came up with a plan. Took a year to get it around, but Jimmy bought this old school bus, like a short bus, and he converted the inside of it into a podcast studio. So we drove around, like we would. Rather than making people come to us, we would go to them.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah, pre-pandemic. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. And that was right when we started our first interviews like January, February 2020. Okay. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like nobody wanted to hang out anymore. No. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting people into a small, confined space was a hard thing. And then it just kind of got harder and harder. And then at the end of 2020, I moved out of state, and that was super emotional and hard.
Where'd you go?
I moved to southern Utah, so St. George area, like right by Zion's National Park.
How long did you live there for?
I'm still living there.
Oh wow, yeah. Okay.
That's why it's been real hard.
I thought you lived like in Cali somewhere, and you were just coming back and forth.
No.
Wow.
I've been driving like 6-hour drives back and forth. Like,
oh my god.
Yeah, it's been gnarly. It's been really gnarly, and
it's only 6 hours to Utah.
Yeah. So
okay.
It's just almost 2 hours past Vegas north.
Okay.
And it's right on the border. So I could leave my house at like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and be here by noon. It's not that bad.
Wow.
And it's pretty straight shot. It's not like you're going, winding around.
You don't mind driving?
I don't love it, but being in a band, you just like, that's kind of a hop, skip, and a jump,
Yeah.
Hey, we got a show 6 hours away. Like, oh, okay, that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
right?
and you love Utah?
I like it a lot now. I grew up in California. I'm a California dude. I like surfing and skateboarding, and it's been a little hard, but being in the high desert, it doesn't really snow a lot. I mean, it snowed twice in 2020. It didn't snow at all last year.
That's cool.
It's not that cold. It's really hot in the summertime, but there's a lot to do. Brandon Steinecker from Rancid, he lives out there too. Yeah. He's like 10 minutes from my house.
He makes it look so cool, like all the stuff he does in the sand and all that stuff.
Oh, there's so much to do out there, and the only thing they don't have is ocean.
Yeah, you snowboard?
I do, but I haven't gone in a long time.
Okay.
And there's a place called Bryan Head that's about an hour away from our spot. That's not very crowded, but the snow is the waves. The waves are killer. The snow is really good, but I haven't gone that much. As you get older, it's a process.
Totally.
Like, snowboarding is a process. It's like
getting all the gear and getting it all on, just everything, man.
And it was funny because 2020 rolls around, the pandemic, no work. We had 3 months of tour cancel. I mean, it was gnarly. And I didn't know what to do. And we've been saving to buy a house in Huntington. You know, we were in the Huntington area forever, and prices are just getting crazier. It's like you're in quicksand all the time, man. You know? No New York bands, pun intended, but you know what
Great
I mean?
band.
Oh yeah. Walter's a rad guy.
He is, dude.
And we just had to make a decision, and I have a business partner that lives there in St. George, and we shot some stuff there. And I'm like, it's really nice there. It's cheap. Let's just go for it. So we went, and we've been hiding out, and you know, my kids are pretty into sports, my 2 younger boys, and that was another thing. California was so shut down. It was like,
I know, man.
It seemed like there was a little bit more of a like, I don't know. I don't want to get too crazy with my statement, but they were a little more open about it. Like, if you're sick, go home from school.
Totally.
And if you
Cali got real strict. It's true. A lot of people left California.
And then like sports too was like no one, you know, kids could play.
Yeah.
And so my kids got back into sports there. And anyway,
was it pretty open when you got there?
Pretty open. Yeah. It was still, you know, masks here and there.
Yeah. But I think about like us being in bands, and that's what we do. We travel and we always doing stuff like that. But then we think about our kids too, that like have to socialize and be in school. Just all that stuff must be so much even maybe harder on them, you know?
Oh my gosh. I can't really even imagine what it must be like, because we grew up totally different than our kids are growing up.
Yeah.
And especially with the pandemic. And I think, you know, Max being your son,
yeah,
being his age, he totally dodged a bullet, I think, with this pandemic.
Yeah, he graduated online. That was the only sucky thing, but yeah.
Yeah. My oldest son did he graduate in 2020 or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with my son. So my son Oscar and your son Max are the same age.
Same age, yeah. That was kind of weird, the graduating online. We had a ceremony, but it was like only a couple people, only me and my wife could go, not his grandmother. She stood outside the fence. She looked through the fence when he got his diploma.
I know they did this thing at Oscar's high school where it was like you drove in, and then you had stations, and you got out and like shook the hand of a teacher and got back in the car, and then like,
wow, man.
And then you drove up and got your diploma, and we took a picture from the car. So it was like a drive-through. It was so great. It was actually really cool.
That's pretty sick though.
Because my older daughter, she graduated, and the ceremony was like 3-hour ceremony.
Dang.
And it was like in the sun, and we were dying, and we're like, this kind of sucks. Just give her the diploma. Let's get out
quick.
of
So
here.
you drive-through graduation.
Drive-through was so good. It was like Burger King graduation. Drive-through.
I love Utah when I visit though. The air is really nice. It just seems beautiful. The mountains, just everything, man.
Yeah, we didn't want to go north because it's just, I've done stuff up there. My parents are from there. And we shot some stuff there.
Yeah.
And in the wintertime from like November to like February, the sun doesn't come out. It's just like constantly overcast. And I just, being from here, I can't do it. I have to, the sun has to be around me.
It would make me so sad probably.
At least once a week, you know?
Yeah, we're so spoiled, man.
It is super, super spoiled here for sure. So we moved to the south where it doesn't snow very much, and it gets hot in the summer, but whatever. Just don't go outside between like 1 and 3.
Do you miss California?
I do. I miss it. You know, there's certain things I don't miss about it, which is what everyone else wouldn't miss, you know?
Yeah.
Traffic and the weirdness, and it's just gotten kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
And
it really
it's just
has.
so sad. Like the homeless problem is just out of control, and
it's insane.
I don't know what to do. You want to help people. I mean, even just here, you know, driving here, it was, you know, I
can see it.
I gave a lady a couple dollars.
Yeah.
She came up to my window, and it's cool. That's cool. But then it's just like when you see a massive amount of people,
yeah,
it just, something's wrong. Like, what is wrong? You know?
It's true.
Anyway, I didn't want to bring up negative stuff.
It's true though. But I lived in this house 18 years, and like 2 weeks ago, I came out in the morning with my wife, and there was a homeless lady in my yard, and she had hung a plastic bag on my fence. And then I was like, hey, and then she ran out, and we grabbed the bag, and it was like all like steak. It looked like she stole it from the grocery store. So I went looking for her, but she ran down the alley, but I left in the alley for her, and I don't know if she came back and got it, but that was the first time ever somebody coming on our property.
It's kind of freak you out, right?
Yeah, it was tripped out. It was. And but I gave her the food, but I don't know. That was just really interesting. First time ever though.
Right, and it wasn't like you were like trying to get violent with her or anything.
No,
you just
no.
like, well, hey, what's going on? And she freaked out and ran away.
Yeah,
right?
which is in my yard though. But that's the first time ever.
Yeah, that's a trip.
It is a trip. There's a lot of things changing. Hopefully we're gonna get better sooner than later. It's gonna get worse to get better, I guess. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I sadly I think that's kind of how things go, right? And
yeah.
If we're sick as a person, you have to go through that releasing of the toxins to get better, right?
Yeah.
And so I think as kind of a society, in a way, like civilization,
yeah,
we're releasing some toxins.
I mean, it's almost what the lockdown kind of was too. It was almost like just a reality and a wake up call to the world, I guess, too. Even people say like Mother Nature gave us a time out,
right,
or something. I don't know, man. It was pretty crazy, man.
Right, and it asked a lot of questions about of all of us, like how are we going to handle things? How are we going to handle this? How are we going to come together? Are we going to freak out and
Yeah,
and there's still scars, from it. Like,
for sure, man.
Emotional scars, and
it seems like things are starting to happen, like the tours, just everything. Hopefully, like I just can't get excited about it. If I see my dates that I've been waiting to play for 2 years, I'm not going to get excited until it actually happens. Until I'm there, you know what I mean?
100%.
I'm scared to book a flight, to be honest.
100%. We had a show on this Friday, this
okay.
week. That's why I'm down here.
Okay,
and it just got canceled, like no real good reason.
Yeah,
just.
Because there's no more mandates right now. So a lot of things are open. But yeah, there is a lot of... Yeah, it's interesting,
like
man.
In your years of playing shows, and you have a one-off, right? In your years of playing shows, how often has a show canceled 3 days out from the show?
Maybe never. Maybe
never.
Once. Yeah,
right? Maybe once.
Yeah.
Right? And how many times have we canceled the show? Never, really.
Yeah.
Maybe once or twice in our 25 years of playing, but
yeah, there was this thing that happened to us where we had a show booked for 2 years. We finally played it, and then as 2 years passed, so many people's lives changed. So there was a lot of no shows. There were like refunds. There were like, it was interesting. That's happening a lot too across the country. Just people they get the tickets in advance, and when time comes down to the show, they're like, I'm not really ready to go out yet. Yeah, I get it. It's
yeah, and for you and for me, like touring has always been like such a kind of insurance, I guess. Like it's been like, okay, we got these shows, and I know we can pay some bills from these shows. And I think for people that aren't in bands looking at bands, it's probably interesting to be able to step in and like find out like just how much touring is so important. Playing live music is important to bands. Like you have to go out and play.
Totally.
Because I mean that's really your job, and you can't hold down a normal job in the meantime and be in a band. It's like you have to kind of choose, like, okay,
sacrifice.
Do you want to do a 9 to 5 and build a career that way, or do you want to be in a band? Because you kind of can't do both, right?
It's so true.
And it's been so hard for everyone in our band to just be in the band, like stay in the band. And we were just talking about that a little bit with you and your band with Max, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
but it's very therapeutic also for us too. It's what we do.
Oh,
and it's how we express ourselves and get the stress out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We never started a band thinking like this was going to be our career. We were always just like, this is so fun. And it's like the energy and being expressive and being silly. And just being together and positivity, and
totally.
I know
it's weird when all of a sudden that stops.
Yeah.
And like, how can I be creative now? Or how can I express or get things out of my system or any of that stuff? Because it's very therapeutic, like just doing it.
100%.
What was the last real job you had?
Real job was probably...
Not saying what we do now isn't real, but you know what I mean.
I think probably... working on a kids TV show and doing production stuff to me
official.
Still doesn't feel like a real job.
Yeah, because you know what you love.
Yeah. But and I loved working at Ruka, but that was probably one of the last real jobs.
They had to go into an office every day.
Yeah, I worked as a marketing. I won't say director because I didn't really know what I was doing. If you was like, I'm a marketing director because I went to college and I have a degree.
Yeah.
I just, Pat, the owner of Ruka, hired me to come in and be the marketing guy and run this artist network program at Ruka back in the early 2000s.
Oh, nice.
and that was probably the last real, like 9 to 5, have to be there.
Yeah.
You know, real job probably. And I've had little things here and there.
Yeah.
But I think that was probably the last one. And then, because then we went right into Yo Gabba Gabba after that. I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean, I quit my job to be able to do Yo Gabba Gabba.
Yeah.
And it took a year and a half, almost 2 years for it to come around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit. But again, going back to touring, we had touring in there to like
to balance it all. Yeah.
Supplement income. You're like, okay.
That was guaranteed money.
Yeah, guaranteed money, right? Right?
Totally.
You get those guarantees and you're like, all right, I'm going to go play 2 weeks of shows and this is the money that's guaranteed. This will be my cut. Okay, I can pay this many months of rent.
Yeah.
Buy this many groceries. You could break it down, right?
Totally.
So that's why, again, going back to 2020, when you have that supplemental income that's guaranteed on the calendar and it just gets wiped away, it's like, wow, what do we do now?
I know.
Where are we gonna go?
and I know that, like, I know that we weren't essential. It just felt like music was at the very bottom of the totem pole.
100%.
And live music and all that. When I feel personally that I think music heals people and I think it brings people together. Obviously we couldn't come together, but music helps so many people. But we were just like at the very bottom, just waiting, like, when's it gonna happen?
Right. And what a crazy test for people, like, to be able to ride through not being able to gather together and like even just within the family, like getting together at holidays with families,
totally.
Stay away, you know, and like such a divider. It's been such a like division, you know.
100%.
It's kind of crazy.
I had my 50th birthday party. I sat in my front yard, my wife and my son, and my friends drove around beeping the horns around.
Oh man.
I've had three birthdays in this lock. It's crazy.
When was your birthday?
Well, my birthday was April 8th last week. I turned 52, but I had almost 3 birthdays in this thing. Would that make sense? I don't know. It's been 2 years now.
2020
birthdays.
was your 50.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just turned 50 in January.
Feels good, man. 50s is good.
Yeah, I'm kind of stoked actually, because when we were kids, can you imagine, like, I think like that's when like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones turned 50. Like they're old, you know.
So old, dude.
So old, and now we're 50 and you're still skateboarding,
doing everything, dude.
Still doing music. You know,
it's
I
crazy.
went surfing this morning, you know. So it's just, I wanted to make sure I had that like good vibes, you know,
for
like
sure.
Energy from the ocean, and
it's beautiful, man. The ocean gives you so much energy, man.
So much.
I dived in last week and like 8 a.m. My son was surfing. Just went swimming. It was so cold, but I felt so alive, man. You know,
there's this weird this article I read. It was a couple years ago. It's been 10 years now, but it talked a little bit about the pearl divers in Japan, like, you know, the women that would dive down and how they can hold their breath for like 15 minutes or something crazy, you know, how they train their bodies to do that. And it was to the effect that something about being in the ocean as a human, the instant you submerge 100%, your body starts to change, like more like a fish.
No way. That's crazy.
If I can find the article, I'll send it to you. It's insane. But it talks about all the things that open up in your body and like start to transform. It like changes you, because, you know, nature is crazy and we don't know everything about science and biology, but we're learning.
Totally.
And but it was this scientific article that talked about the amazing transformative properties of salt water and being in the ocean.
I believe it, dude.
It's another reason why people, when they go in those like deprivation chambers, it's salt water in there, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Altered states, you know, like laying in the box. And
I love it, man.
Out. Oh, it's so amazing. Yeah.
And I always hear people talk about like surfing is this spiritual connection with Mother, just all this stuff. And my son, he just surfs because he loves it. But when I stood up on my first wave during the pandemic, it just felt, it was surreal to me, because you can control your skateboard on the sidewalk or a ramp. You're kind of controlling that, but you're like on top of this, on the ocean is controlling you. It's just a crazy feeling, just being on a wave. It's right. I can't explain it. I felt,
and it's like a
connection,
super shot of energy too.
Yeah.
It's like the minute even if you're only on the wave for 3, 4, 5 seconds, the minute you kick out or even fall and pop back up, it's like it's like you're glowing. Like, that was amazing.
I know.
Right?
Are you a longboarder?
I ride different like sizes, but one thing I don't really do like potato chip boards anymore, like the really skinny little ones.
Okay.
You know, like
I know they call potato chip
just
boards.
like
Cool.
because they're really thin.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I can't do it. So, and actually, for the past maybe 4 or 5 years, I've just been riding soft tops.
Okay.
Like I even went surf trips with soft top, soft top boards. So
Yeah.
And those come in different sizes. Sometimes like more like a short, like a 6 foot.
Yeah.
But then I'll do the 7 foot soft top is like, it's like, that's the zone,
Yeah. Are you good?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I'm good.
You just have fun.
I just like catching waves.
Yeah.
And I don't really, I'm not trying to do airs or,
Yeah.
those days are long gone, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Totally.
I'm okay with even skating, like skating a mini ramp. I mean, I can remember the feeling of like just busting big frontside ollies and like, lip slides and like
Nice.
going crazy. And I'm scared to do it now. I'm just scared.
Yeah.
It's scary.
I'm fully padded up at the mini ramp, dude.
Right. I want to skate that ramp you skated.
Yeah, Liquid Death ramp in Venice.
Yeah, I want to skate that.
I'm
or
so down. And then the
Steve Caballero's
the
ramp.
Panda ramp,
I
dude.
want to skate that ramp with you guys. Next
It's-
time you go,
okay,
text
yeah,
me.
it's beautiful, man.
I want to go. Yeah.
It's a perfect mini ramp.
And Steve is such a rad guy.
He's a sweetheart.
How
man.
amazing is that? Like, I mean, you grew up on the East Coast,
Yeah.
but we're the same age, so I'm sure you were reading Thrasher magazines and like just
Watching Bones Brigade.
watching Bones Brigade, and like Steve Caballero, you're like friends with him.
It's crazy, dude.
He texts you and stuff, right?
He just hit me up yesterday because I sang on his new record. I'm gonna go down and shoot a video.
Oh, with your thing, yeah.
at his barbecue. We're gonna film a video of me singing that song at his house. We're gonna skate, have a barbecue. It's gonna be cool.
Oh yeah, let me know when you guys do that.
For sure.
I'll drive down for that. That's worth 12-hour drive.
No, it is. Last time I went there, I didn't even tell Cab. I was like, I'm gonna invite Christian. He's like, cool. Well, I told him after Christian came, Chris Cole. It was this crazy set. It was a surreal moment, dude.
I bet, yeah.
And I'm just watching, but I got trick of the day because I landed a hand plane on the coping.
Oh yeah, I saw it. There's video of it.
Yeah.
I saw that on Instagram.
Because I'm more of a vert skater, but I don't know. I'm kind of scared. I went to recently. I went down with Mike from Liquid Death to skate Tony Hawk's ramp with Tony Hawk, and when you walk in that building and he's on the ramp by himself, like warming up, I didn't want to go up on the ramp. First time meeting him, I was so nervous. I didn't drop in. I knew I could have done it. I was just carving, trying to get to the top, pumping. I'm not going to play myself in front of Tony Hawk.
right.
It was so
But Tony
intimidating.
is such a cool guy. Like he's such a rad guy, though. Like so
Yeah.
nice.
You see
Super.
the yeah.
I haven't seen the documentary yet. The HBO
It's
one.
amazing,
I want to
man.
see it.
It's not what you expect. It's some heavy moments, man. It's beautiful.
I want to see it.
Yeah. That was surreal, like going there. And then Cab pulled up and he's skating. I'm like, dude, I'm just going to watch.
When you look over the edge at that ramp, it's so scary.
No. And I used to drop in on
Me
ramps
too.
like that back in the day.
Yeah.
There's just something about it now. I'm like, I know I could do it, but I don't want to slam and I don't want to get hurt, man.
Right. No, and that's part.
And that's what he does.
That's part of the age.
Yeah.
I mean, even Tony just got hurt
I
really
know.
bad, and it's.
But
he's
he's on-
skating already.
He's a Michael Jordan skateboarding. He's a machine. He's not even real human, dude. It's crazy.
Even when I was a kid, though, there was always those guys that there was just something. They just didn't care if they got hurt.
I know.
They had to land that trick. They had to do it.
But when we were young, we all thought like that.
Yeah.
But it's crazy
True.
that as they're older, they still don't. They're not scared, dude.
I know.
But it's what they do. It's like what he does his whole life. That's what he does. That's his life.
Yeah, and
It's like walking with him.
right, and you couldn't. You'd probably get some, stage fright if you gave Tony a mic and said
Exactly.
go out and sing. But that's your zone. Like you get out there with people, and
Yeah.
that's who you are, and that's who he is.
But did you see him in punk rock karaoke? He actually killed this song,
no,
man.
I did see him on that one. What's that show?
I wonder what song it
My
was.
kids were watching that thing. Mask Singer. Did you see
He
him
was
on
on
that?
that?
Yeah.
Do you know what song he did?
sang Friday I'm in Love from The Cure.
Wow. He's got a great music taste too. Like his
Yeah.
documentary, the soundtrack's amazing.
Yeah, he always has been such a good guy. I grew up here in LA.
Yeah, I was gonna get that. So
And,
where were you born at?
My parents. I was born in Idaho, like a small
Oh,
town
wow,
in
okay.
Idaho, because my dad was teaching school up
Yeah.
in just this middle of nowhere place. And then when I was a kid, like
Perfect.
3 or 4 years old, we moved to LA.
Okay.
But I was just gonna say, growing up in LA, my parents got my sister and I an agent, and we were like kid actors.
I know. I just saw Gleam in the Cube, and Tony Hawk posted the pictures
That's
yesterday.
yeah, we were going to talk about
I need
that.
you to show me which one you are. I was like, which one is he on here?
I'm the one like that's dressed really terrible.
Okay. But I saw that yesterday, doing Pretty in Pink and Married with Children, all kinds of things you were in, dude.
Yeah, and growing up out here, let's see.
I saw that yesterday. I was like, dude.
Here's one of the. I posted these pictures yesterday too. That's me talking to Tony. I have the
I thought that was
suicidal hat on.
Oh, that's so hard. He's got a flipped up classic suicidal.
Yeah.
And I think you're in like some sort of Pow Animal Chin kind of shirt.
It's like, and then Vision streetwear, like shorts.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of board you got.
It's a Eric Dressen Dogtown board because Eric was my stunt double on the show.
Wow.
In the movie, which I could skate, but I wasn't on their level, you know.
Yeah.
I was okay, but those guys were, you know, they were all
this is an
pros.
incredible photo, man. This Tony Hawk classic style with the hair, like the little whoosh in the front. Maybe he had a little. Dude, this is what year is this?
But so this was 85 or 86.
I'm looking at
85 maybe.
You talking to Tony Hawk in a pool, gleaming the cube. It's crazy. And how was Christian Slater?
You know,
you see him much during that or no?
Oh yeah, we hung out with him all the time. He's right there with the Cramps shirt on, right in the background.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing is Christian Slater was an actor. You know, he was an actor, and I was an actor as well, but I skated.
Totally.
And then Max Perlich, that kid Max. He's in the movie. He was friends with Christian. He was good friends with Christian.
Yeah,
that
guy,
face. Max.
Yeah.
He was also an actor, but he could skate, and he was pretty good. He was a pretty good street skater. But Christian Slater, he never skated before. So the first, once we got the job, they said, hey, for the next 6 weeks, we want you guys to meet up with Christian a couple times a week and skate with him so that you guys can get the camaraderie that you need on film. And I'm like, yes, I'm in. Because I was 15. I was going to school, and I'd be like, hey guys, I got to bail. I'm going to go skate with Tony Hawk and Tommy Guerrero, And we would meet in the valley at these elementary schools. And Russ, I don't know if you know who Russ Howell is, but he's like an old 70s skater. He's like really good at the slalom. If you type in Russ Howell slalom on YouTube, he's like king of the slalom. Anyway, so we would meet up with Christian Slater and Russ Howell, and Russ was teaching Christian the basics of skating. And he was having a rough go because he was trying to learn how to basically be on par with Tony Hawk and Tommy Guerrero from nothing, and I'd been skating a couple years already. And so we would hang out for a little bit, and they would be just okay, today we're going to learn how to just drop off a curb, simple stuff that we take for granted or whatever. And
it's riding off a curb,
and or just doing tic tacs. And we would be like, we're gonna go over to the behind the school and skate the banks or skate the benches. And so I spent the first 5-6 weeks just hanging out with those guys, just skating. Dude. And they'd be like, Christian, what are you doing later? We're gonna go skate this pool, or we're gonna go meet up with so and so. And it was a total dream come true. So
sounds like it.
Shooting that movie, and then my grades were bad because I was all into punk rock and skateboarding. I didn't care about school.
Totally.
So I had to take a test to get out of school so that I could work. Because if you have bad grades, you can't get a work permit. As a minor, you can't work. So I had to take this test to get out of school so that I could go to set and I wouldn't have to go to set school. Because if you're a minor and you're in school, you have to do a certain amount. So I would just get to set with my certificate, and the social worker would go, okay, you're not required to go to school, and we would just go skate until they would call us hey, you guys got to come.
That's incredible, man.
You got your 2-minute scene that you have to do, and there was a lot of times where we would show up and we weren't even on the schedule. They just wanted us there just in case.
Yeah, on call.
So I spent a lot of time with Tommy and Tony Hawk. And
would your parents have to be there because you're underage?
No, because I took that test.
And
it was I got emancipated minor thing. So my mom just said, okay, have fun. And my parents had just been divorced for a couple years, and I was in my punk rock phase, and so I was so stoked. I was 15, basically on my own and doing my own thing and hanging out with those guys all the time.
That's
it was fun, and we
man.
kind of knew that the movie was a little bit
cheesy.
Yeah. It was
But it's
definitely
a classic now. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, it's classic in different ways.
Yeah.
It's like it's funny to watch. But so all those guys were sponsored. So Tony and Tommy were sponsored, so they could only wear PAL stuff or their shoe sponsors.
Gotcha.
And then Max, they wanted him to be a little bit more like rough around the edges, and of course Christian Slater's like wardrobe was, he didn't pick it. It was curated for him. So anything that got donated to the movie from other skate companies like Vision Streetwear and Stussy and stuff like that ended up landing on me. And for some reason the wardrobe lady thought that it would be cool if this character just wore like black and white stuff. So everything I had was just black and white the whole movie. And I was just, I liked Suicidal Tendencies a lot. They were like
so
one of my
cool.
favorite bands.
You got to rock that hat.
But
So
you,
cool.
you can't rock a Suicidal Tendencies hat and a PAL shirt. It just doesn't work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
back in those times, there was like, it was kind of tribal. Like you couldn't cross the like.
Yeah, that's true.
The sure sign of a kook is if like, you know what I mean? It's like if you got Suicidal on, that's Venice, that's Alva, that's that's Dogtown.
Yeah.
There's like only
Z-Boys.
certain things you can wear with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even now, like I'm 50 years old and I'm looking back, I'm like, why did I have to wear that?
But it's cool you represented.
Yeah,
in the movie,
Suicidal
though.
was cool, but but again, I felt like the biggest kook. And I already was like, I couldn't skate as good as those guys, so I was a little insecure. But
Did Slater like punk rock at all? Christian, does he know anything about it?
not really.
Wow.
He didn't know anything about it, and he just and he didn't really ask a ton of questions either. I think he was just, but he was cool and he was social with us. He was nice. He was a nice guy, but I think he could tell that we were from a totally different planet. Because we were all into skating.
You guys were legit. Yeah.
And it was the 80s, so it was still so like fringe. Like it was like something, like
because Bad Boys.
There was this whole different culture. Like it was a whole different culture, and he was, acting culture.
Totally.
Right.
Did you see True Romance before?
Yeah, I see it.
Kill.
Amazing.
Great
movie.
You started acting. How old were you? Like,
let's see, probably 4 years old.
wow.
I think I did my first commercial when I was 5. And my older sister, she's an actress, and my younger brother, and that was kind of how my family paid the bills.
Okay.
Like my mom was not stoked on that thing, like, but my dad was like, hey, they're getting jobs. Like, I'll just, take them to their auditions. But
when did you realize you were an actor? Because you were so young to know what really was going on.
Yeah, I just was doing what they were telling me to do.
Yeah.
Like, go in this room and meet this guy.
It's crazy.
Do what he says, to a certain point, If he touches you weird, come out and scream,
So obviously you're doing it up into your teenage years. Wow, it's a long time acting.
Yeah, all the way until I was about 19. And
Wow.
Then I went to Japan. I lived in Japan for a couple of years. I did a mission for my church as well.
Okay.
And I went to Japan when I was 19, and it was funny because at that time I was hanging out with Tony all the time. And
so after the movie, still kicking.
yeah,
That's
after the
cool,
movie,
man.
we got to be friends, and I got to be really good friends with Otis Bartholomew. Big O.
Oh, Big O, yeah.
And he would take me to Neil Blender's house and Lance Mountain and all those guys, and got to be friends, like really good friends with Jason Lee and Mark Gonzalez, and
Awesome.
hung out with them as they transitioned from mainstream skateboarding to their own thing with blind skateboards.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
right there when all that stuff happened, and hanging out with them all the time. And then I started getting a little bit kind of, I don't know, just felt like I wasn't really going anywhere because I wasn't the top skater,
Yeah.
I was the guy filming them. Like I filmed a little bit for the blind video, like Video Days. I don't remember if you remember that video.
Yeah.
Guy Mariano, and Mark wanted me
He
to.
plays in the band too, right? He's
Guy?
a drummer.
It does.
I just heard his name yesterday about this.
Really?
He plays with Daniel Mahoney in a band called 411. He's playing drums. I just heard his name yesterday. An 80s skater is also a drummer. He's playing this reunion show coming up.
Wow, really?
Yesterday, I heard that name.
Guy Mariano?
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Maybe I'm wrong. Don't quote me, people. I have to double check. But yeah, anyway. I heard his name.
Yeah, I
yesterday
wouldn't
for some
doubt it.
reason.
I mean, a lot of those guys are really good musicians. Jason Lee's a pretty good guitar player. He just doesn't that's not what he puts forth, you know.
He's a great skater as well, man.
Amazing. And he was really funny guy, and I introduced him to some people, and then, you know, he got into acting.
Yeah, so he wasn't acting when you met him.
No, but he wanted to.
Yeah.
I'd go on, I'd have an audition for, you know, a banana commercial today. You want to come with me? And he'd be like, yeah. I'm like, just sign in. Just sign in and do it.
Wow.
And tell him that your agent is my agent.
Yeah.
And just try out just to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And I was friends with the Ribisi family, like Giovanni Ribisi.
Yeah.
And they lived in my neighborhood in North Hollywood. And I introduced
I know him and his sister. I met them a couple
Jason
times.
to that. Yeah, super cool. Marissa.
Yeah, super cool.
Marissa comes around the barracks a little bit
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I was there with Steve Barra last summer, and she had just been there or something. But I haven't seen them in a long time.
Cool family, yeah.
So cool. And then they got to know Jason, and crazy fun times, man. Like thinking back about all this stuff. But
yeah.
So with Jason too, you know, introducing him to people and him getting into acting, he always wanted to do that. And he was a shoo-in. Like, he's so funny and like witty, and we would just do funny stuff, like, you know, dress up like nerds and go to the mall and act like nerds for a couple hours, or like, you know, we just messing around. But
did you graduate?
I didn't. No.
Wow.
No.
Because you were acting? Or because
I took those tests at 15. And I got emancipated from my parents.
Oh, I didn't realize I was out of school forever.
So that I could act.
I thought, okay.
And then I never went back.
No GED, nothing.
No.
Wow, man.
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah, don't tell my kids.
No, I won't. And did you get into punk rock around the same time or younger?
Well, let's see. I you know, let me be clear. I did go back to a continuation school after Gleaming the Cube. Because when I got back from Gleaming the Cube, my grades were shot because I did nothing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you can't pass. So I went to a continuation school for a few months after that to try to like catch my grades up. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I was like, I'm just not going to go. And so I stopped going to school at like 15.
Wow. Man.
Once I could drive, it was over, you know, because I would go to Huntington Beach or drive places to go skate.
Auditions, all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I could still go on auditions.
So your parents are super supportive.
Well, my mom had just been recently divorced,
yeah.
and she was just like, do whatever you want, you know? I don't care. She
trusted you, though.
Yeah, she trusted me. She definitely trusted me.
Were you a good kid?
I think so. I mean, I experimented a little with stupid stuff and got into trouble a few times. But for the most part, you know, growing up, my family's was pretty like religious, and we also...
You guys swear in the house? No swearing?
No. We also like... No swearing, yeah. But once my mom got divorced, she was kind of like, the rules went out the window. My dad was a little bit more of the enforcer, you know, was in the military and
strict,
pretty strict. You know, he had this belt that had like these studs on it.
Wow.
And that like, if you did something really bad, you get the stud belt, and like, that was gnarly. We had the whoop.
That's real back then. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you get whooped, you know.
Yeah.
But
it's so crazy.
It's so crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to think about that.
Especially having kids too. It's like, wow.
Yeah. You didn't need to do that with your kids.
Man.
But
it's intense.
Yeah, but again, once my parents were divorced, my mom was kind of, she had me on a really long leash, you know, and she would rarely, and her leash was a guilt trip, you know. It wasn't.
I've been there with my mom. For sure.
It wasn't like there's no, you know, there's no stud belt. My mom's not gonna hit me with a belt, and then there's no come home, because you know, what's she gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do? It was more like the tears and like, you know, you're making me feel like a bad person. You know. Yeah,
my mom too, because my dad died. My mom raised 3 boys on her own, so it's kind of hard to control us 3 boys.
Yeah,
and she didn't hit us or nothing like that too. We were in the streets, but I was being, no disrespect to my brothers, but I was like a straight and narrow skateboard kid. But my mom did that to us too, the guilt stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Fuck, I mess with your head, you know?
Oh, for sure. But it worked. It worked totally. Really good, you know? Like I think there was one time I came home and I'd been doing some stupid stuff, and my mom just put her hands on my shoulders and said, I'm just so glad that you're, you know, taking our family seriously, and that way your dad's gone, so you're the man of the house.
I was gonna say you're the oldest.
You would never do something to like jeopardize our family. And she knew that I was goofing around. She caught me.
What kind of crazy stuff were you doing? Just partying?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
not like not anything major, but I don't know. Just because I didn't really have, I think because it's like when you're wound so tight and then it springs out. Like you see that happen in any kind of cultures, like
sure,
if you're wound tight and then suddenly you have freedom, like you want to see what's out there, so I didn't do anything crazy, but I did find out that like, okay, now I wasn't really happy when I was being forced to do stuff, but when I'm free on my own, why am I still not that happy? I could do whatever I want, but
interesting.
I'm not like feeling good, So, and you find that PMA and then you figure it out,
man.
right?
100%.
Right.
Did your mom like the punk rock music? She thought it was crazy.
My dad hated it. And I think there was one time I remember before they were divorced, I had all these flyers, like these rad flyers, and I'd been trading flyers, you like back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And I had some pretty like good old ones of shows I didn't even go to, but a lot of the shows I had gone to, but one day my dad was mad because my room was messy or something, and he came in and he like ripped all my flyers down in front of me, put them in a bag. I was like, get this out of my house.
Oh my God, dude.
And I was so bummed. And he threw some records away, broke some of my cassette tapes.
Who's the Angry Samoans?
Exactly.
Some of those band names.
Totally.
Sexist, all that.
Totally, all that stuff.
That religion.
But my mom was just kind of like, yeah, well, that's your thing. Go for it, But I think skateboarding was a big part of like keeping on the path. And straight edge was like a big deal. Like, cause
really?
I'd been raised kind of pretty straight edge, you know? And so when I really got into punk and you'd go to parties and you'd see people like just passed out.
Yeah.
And like
scary.
Dudes taking advantage of people that are passed out and just be like, man, and you're a little shrimp and you're not going to like get beat up by a bunch of jocks.
100%.
It's just like that whole like substance abuse lifestyle. I was not going for that. Like I didn't want to do it. And so straight edge to me was like a big deal because I like identified with that. Like, yes, I agree, Ian. I agree. You know what I mean? And I'm only 15, but it was, I think punk rock and skateboarding and straight edge was an amazingly good thing for me. Like at that time, because if I didn't had that, because being from a strict religious family, I was trying to get away from that a little bit as a teenager, and then
rebelling,
and then realizing, okay, well, there's definitely good things about. Keeping clean and eating right and doing the right things. There's good stuff about that.
For sure.
But the, authoritarianism that was coming from, not from the beliefs, but from the execution of those beliefs. You know what I mean? Like from my dad, like the way he would like implement that didn't make me want to like, I'm going to go pray now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that it was a questioning time
that's what punk does. It makes you question everything.
Yeah, and it's still carrying over. It's still
for sure.
It's still in my heart, like all that stuff. And then seeing Bad Brains on the Eye Against Eye tour at Fenders, like that was it. I was like,
incredible.
Okay, all right, skateboarding and Bad Brains and like I'm good.
Yeah.
And
did you get to see Minor Threat back then?
I didn't. I just missed Minor Threat. I missed the Misfits. Damn. I saw Descendants a lot.
Me too.
I went to their last show ever at Fenders.
What year
I have
was
a
that?
flyer that says last show ever.
No
It's
way.
like 87, I think.
You still have that flyer?
They were gonna break. Yeah, they were breaking up, and we're like, oh man, my favorite band's breaking up, and then they came
Is that
back.
The 80s?
Yeah.
Wow.
They
came back stronger than ever.
Better than ever. Yeah.
Dude.
Everything Sucks record is so good, right?
It's like the best return album ever in the history of punk rock or anything. I
think of rock and roll. Period.
It's perfect.
Think about when that's ever happened before. Like a band is broken up. I mean, maybe Aerosmith is comparative because but they never broke up.
Yeah.
They were just like playing county fairs and stuff,
Yeah.
And then Run DMC comes along and basically gives them a whole new life, right?
It's true.
But that's different than Descendants, even, right? So
the record's perfect, man.
It's so good. Anyway, I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, did you want to play music at all? Were you
I think after
bands?
seeing Bad Brains, I was like, yes. And some friends of mine had a band that my buddy Jeff and Tim, and they had a band, and I wanted to be the singer.
Yeah.
But they had a singer. I was like, well, why don't you guys practice at my house, and I'll be the roadie. And like they practiced in my garage, because my mom again was like, you guys do whatever you want. I don't care. She was kind of like, I don't want to see she was checked out, but she was a little.
But you knew what you were up to.
Emotionally checked out. Yeah. She knew that we weren't like.
Yeah, you're
crazy
skating, you're going to punk shows, you're playing music. You know,
she was cool with it.
Like, you're not getting arrested and, wilding out.
No. I mean, there was some close calls. Yeah. Because, I mean, right, that time in L.A., too, gangs were so gnarly right then. I mean, pre-Colors. I mean, they made the movie Colors because of the way it was on the streets in L.A. around that time. Like, mid-'80s, it was gnarly, you know? So wherever you went, there was gangs to worry about.
And at shows, too.
At shows. Oh, shows especially. Because at first it was just like the punk gangs, like the Lads and the FFF from the Valley, and there was the Suicidals, of course, the Venice 13, and then there was like the South Bay Skins, and like there was all these, like, it was just the punk gangs, and there was like, it was like the Thunderdome, at Defenders. It was you had
like the Warriors, man.
Yeah, totally. It was like the Warriors, but for real.
Yeah.
And you had the Lads were over here, and the V13 guys were over here, and they had their own pits. And you didn't like let the pits mix. And so like right in front of the stage was like winner take all pit. It was like the biggest guys that were like non-denominational. You know what I mean?
Winner take all.
And then there was like who you affiliated with pits on the side. So like South Bay Skins was to the right of the stage, and that was all skinheads. And then there was Lads over there to the left, and then Venice 13. And so it was all the different gangs. And
movie, man.
Certain bands could like push it so that like it would open up, and it would like it would turn into a fight, like a big brawl. But sometimes it would like sweep it, and like they would all mix up. Wow. And then it was just like Wild West. It was crazy. Some of those shows were insane. But
it's crazy that their own pits. Like we're gonna dance right here.
Oh,
this is us. Don't come near our pit.
One of the crazy.
We all love the same band, though.
Yeah. It was great. You see, we're at MDC, and it's everyone's like slamming into the same band, but they're like they've segregated themselves.
It's crazy, man.
I can't remember what show it was.
I love MDC, by the way. Underrated band, dude.
So underrated.
So many things he was singing about back then are so relevant still now. I listened to him recently. I was like, dude, it's crazy.
It's serious. I mean, all those bands.
Dead Kennedys, too.
Dead Kennedys, Bad Brains.
Yeah.
I mean, even just, like, think about the big takeover, the words. It's just another Nazi scheme, and it's like.
Dude.
It's at the time you're thinking about. You're just a kid, so you're like, yeah, there's cool lyrics, but then you're like, you like dissect it down. It's like stuff that's going on, like with this crazy stuff.
It's true, dude.
Right? Yeah. I don't want to out myself too much.
No, I know what you're saying.
Some conspiracy theory, but
I know what you're saying.
Just like the way governments are, and the way that we just the people are just taking it. I mean,
100%.
Punk rock was all about that, 100%.
I know.
Like.
I learned so much from Dead Kennedys about politics and all that stuff.
Don't take that. Don't take it. Yeah, like you don't have to take it. Like, freedom is a real thing. It's kind of crazy.
What about Bad Religion for you? Since you were so religious, like hearing Bad Religion must have been like kind of shocking.
And as a teenager, I wasn't like super religious. Obviously, I like converted. And
but just that logo is so powerful too.
It was, and honestly, like, and no offense to Bad Religion at all. I don't think it was the anti-religion thing. I just wasn't for some reason I was never into it. And even when Suffer came out, and my friend Jeff was so into that record, like the Suffer album, and I was just like, I don't know. For some reason I never resonated with Bad Religion. And I don't and I've self-analyzed, like, is that because I'm religious and I don't like the message, and I don't think it's that at all.
Okay.
There's just
I respect that so much.
Something about
man.
it I don't like.
Yeah, he just didn't connect with you.
Yeah, and We've toured with them. We played with them on Warped Tour, like, man, so many times, and we know those guys kind of.
Yeah.
I think they think we're stupid, but everyone thinks we're stupid because we are stupid. I mean, the Aquabats is like, it's a joke, you know, it's silly. And here's the thing, like going back.
It's super posy though for the.
Oh yeah. Going back to that Bad Brains show.
Yeah, I want to start music. Yeah.
So like Bad Brains, HR comes out first thing, jumps into the crowd, and he's like one with the crowd, you know.
Sick.
The formula, and he gets back up on stage and he's going nuts, and you know, as crazy as HR has been in his life, he was on that night. He was so on, and he was so connected, and he'd do a song and then he did his backflips, and the best part was, you know, Fender's at that time in LA was the place to go see shows.
Yeah.
And it was like the Warriors. It was like the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
And you would always see somebody like stabbed or punched or beat up,
like Suburbia.
It was insane. There was lots of fights.
Yeah.
And during Bad Brains, when their reggae songs would come on, everybody would like put their arms around each other and dance.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my,
beautiful.
This is it.
Yeah.
You can be aggressive and crazy and still love each other.
Totally.
And then you can like foil it, or like you can work it. You can work reggae into this. It blew my mind.
Yeah, that was amazing to hear that.
Right.
First time,
And you would see guys that would like the previous song be like punching at each other or like throwing elbows, and then now they're like, hey, it's cool. Let's pick each other up and dance.
Yeah.
And feel the vibes, you know?
And then the next song, Get Into Your Pit.
Yeah. And then, you know, and to me, it was like, wow, there's something so powerful here. And it is this energy, this magic of music. And it can bring people together and be positive. Like you can have a rowdy, positive show.
100%.
And that's what hardcore basically...
7 seconds, man.
Hopefully was going to be, saw 7 seconds many times. And
super positive.
So great. And then was it New Wind, that album came out?
I love it though, man.
I just...
Were you too punk for it?
I was too punk for it. I was like,
you ever go back and listen to it later on?
I need to. I've always wanted to.
I love Ourselves, New Wind, Soul Force Revolution, Praise. I don't know. I love those records, man.
Yeah, I never got into it afterwards.
It's too melodic for you.
Well, I think I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't ready for it. I was like going through my own like journey into melody, you know?
Yeah.
And now I love stuff like melodic stuff is my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
And the more hardcore, like kind of guttural stuff, I'm not, you know, I could take it like DRI. I love DRI back in the day because so fast.
Yeah, so fast.
And now I listen to it. I was like, it's like, it just doesn't connect with me anymore.
Yeah. It's so cool to see.
Even like Voivod stuff and stuff. I was like, so fast. You know?
It's crazy seeing like Kevin Seconds out there and Keith Morse touring their 60s, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. But hey, we're right there, dude.
I know, man.
50s.
We're 50s, but still, this like 10 years ahead of us, still killing. Vinny Stigma, like all those guys.
It's amazing, like what's happened with music and how people can basically survive being non-essential.
Yeah.
Making music
100%.
And making people feel happy and having a good time. And I'm not gonna retire off the Aquabats, not at all. Like we have to keep doing it to keep it alive, you know. But at the same time, it's been amazing that it's been 25 years.
25 years.
And for you guys too, like.
Yeah. Is that your first band though? Like official band?
I was in a band. We had a couple other bands before, but
what type of music?
So Scott, the other creator of Yo Gabba Gabba,
yeah.
We grew up together. We've been best friends like since we were late teens, and we had a band that was kind of more of like a shoegazy kind of like playing slow songs, kind of Galaxy 500 meets like spiritualized and.
Shoegazy, that's like a genre, right?
Shoegazer, yeah. It's like looking down at your shoes and playing solos, you know?
Okay.
It was like this kind of indie. It wasn't even as upbeat as Pavement. You know Pavement.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like in that vein of like, I mean, we love the Pixies. Like we're super into the Pixies, but our songs were not as good as the Pixies.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a band and we were playing shows, and I just remember distinctly, like I was in the middle of some like bad guitar solo, and I'm terrible. I'm terrible at playing the guitar, period. But and we were at some coffee shop, and you could hear people talking over us playing, and I could hear somebody saying like, "Who are these guys? I don't know. This suck," you know, like. And I was just like, this isn't that fun. Like, this is not fun, you know? Yeah. And the songs we were writing at the time were like, you know, about relationships and breakups. And I'm like, this is dumb. Like, what am I doing? This is not for me, you know? And so I started the Aquabats just with a bunch of dudes as a joke, like just to have fun. Like, let's just go out and whatever we're singing about, it doesn't matter. And no one can say it sucks because we already know it sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you named the band?
My brother came up with the name because we were thinking of a name, and he said something like, because I was really into like the Ventures and the Stingrays. Like we were the surf music at the time. And I was listening to a lot of like surf stuff from the 60s. And I'm like, yeah, what about something like the Stingrays or like something like oceany? And my brother was like, I got one. How about the Aquabats? I was like, that is the dumbest thing you've ever said. Yes, let's do it. You know,
it's perfect though. It's crazy,
it's so
man.
dumb. It's super dumb.
And did you have like costumes right from the beginning?
No. Well, we wanted to wear different stuff every time. It's like at that time in music in LA too, there was like a big exotica, like lo-fi surf music revival in the early 90s. So like, you know, the Mummies came out of that, and like the Estrus Records. Do you remember all that stuff? It was there was
like 94, right?
Yeah, like 92 to 94. Okay. And so that's when the Aquabats started, and we wanted to kind of do something like that, but there was also the Orange County ska thing going on. So I was like, well, what if we just kind of mix it up and do like surf ska, you know? Just to be dumb, you know? Mm-hmm. And because ska shows were fun, and I'd been to the Thunderdome, I'd been to Fenders, I'd been to shows, and I went to this show. It was Public Enemy, Fishbone, and Living Color at the Santa Monica Civic.
That's incredible.
And this was like still in the 80s, and the Venice Shoreline Crips showed up and just like indiscriminately would just pick people out of the crowd, and like 20 guys on one just beat up a guy. Then look for the next guy. Let's do that one. And they turned the lights on because the security was trying to get these guys, and they took the security out, and they were just like going around like beating people up.
That's scary, man.
You know, and everyone was just paralyzed with fear, and there was enough people there that could have like overpowered them. Yeah. But it would have taken everyone to like, okay, some of us are going to get hurt, but let's get these guys out of here. And ultimately, it shut the show down, and Public Enemy stopped, and they left. And Chuck D was like, "We're done," you know, like.
Wow.
And they stood there in front of the stage, like these 20 guys, throwing their Venice Shoreline Crips. Everyone was leaving, and it was like, we won. We stopped the show.
Wow.
And so, you know, coming out of the 80s and shows like that, and then going to like a ska show where there's only like 30 people, but everyone's dancing, and there's girls there. It's like half girls, half guys, you know, because like hardcore shows and punk shows, there's maybe like 5 girls, and there's 500 kids there, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, there's actually girls here, and they want to dance with you, and it's like fun. And so that's really where it was like that Orange County ska scene and surf, and the Aquabats kind of like, ironically, we were like, let's ironically create a band.
Was No Doubt around back then too?
No Doubt was, but they were kind of like the older brothers, you know, the older sister.
Yeah.
Sublime and No Doubt were kind of like on top.
Okay.
And then there was all these like little bands like Real Big Fish and Save Ferris, and they were all like the little bands. There was a band called Meal Ticket from the Valley. Anyway, and we were just like...
And that's a whole different scene, shows, like everything world.
Yeah, whole different world. It was like safe and fun and positive. Yeah. Really positive.
Yeah.
And that was good for the Aquabats because we could just kind of thrive in that scene, you know, like make people laugh and be silly and play dumb songs.
Did people take you guys seriously at first?
No, because it was like, I don't think, that's the thing about the ska scene is people from the other scenes will look at it like, those guys are dorks. But I think everyone that is in the ska scene realizes like they're okay with being a dork, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all right. Like that's fine. Whatever,
Yeah.
you know. There's not, you know, like looking at someone else and like judging them. That comes out of like insecurity.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And I didn't feel like there was a ton of insecurity in the ska scene. Everyone was okay, like looking like, you know, a Hawaiian shirt threw up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Everyone was fine. Like,
not worried about getting beat up or being judged, none of that.
And a lot of ways, like from what I've read, it seemed like the early days of punk were like that, where people were like, hey, look what I'm wearing, a plastic bag with a safety pin to just be tweaked, just to be weird, you know? And that's why I liked it. We liked it. And we wore weird costumes. Every show we wore something different. And then eventually it became like, what could be the dumbest thing we could be? Let's be superheroes. Because that was so nerdy.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like the 80s and 90s, if you were a superhero band, it's so nerdy. Like it's
so nerdy, yeah.
It's like the ultimate dork badge. But now it's like 20 years later, like superheroes are the biggest thing in the world. It's so crazy.
It's huge, man. It's huge.
Would you ever have thought that?
No.
Like reading comic books when you're a kid, that like Spider-Man movies will make like billions of dollars. Like it's insane.
You see the new Spider-Man?
I didn't see it.
It's really good.
My kids have all seen it. They told me about it. I started watching it a little bit with my kids a couple weeks ago. It's the new one with all three of them. And I got to watch it. But you know, like with Star Wars and Marvel and all that stuff, I just started getting burned out. Like, and I think I got a little with that with punk too, a little bit in the late 80s. I got a little bit.
Well, it seems scary though. Everything you're telling me is like scary to go there. You know, you go to shows to escape your reality in life, to be with a bunch of people you can relate to, a bunch of misfits. When you go there and then you're scared for your life, it's like, I'd rather go home. Stay in my
carried
room.
over. I mean, even in Orange County, like there was like crazy racists, like skinheads would come to the shows, and they would like take off their shirts, and there'd be like literally like a like 3-foot tattoo of Hitler on a guy's back.
Wow,
They would just start saluting in the middle of a pit. And it was like they were just basically saying like, come on, let's go. We'll take on anybody. And you know, everyone's thinking the same thing, like, let's just kill these guys. But then everyone's scared, you know, like everyone's like, I don't know. Like, does the guy have a knife? Does he have a gun? And, you know, the 80s it was crazy like that. And with gangs and shootings and it's gotten so much more mellow, which is great. You know?
It's so
thank you, Minecraft. You know, right?
So true, man.
But it was insane. Like, and I think, you know, going to the Aquabats and going to Yo Gabba Gabba and going to these like safe, positive places was kind of a direct result of like coming out of tough places. And you were on the streets, you know,
totally,
like in New York.
Sure.
I'm sure it was insane.
You know? Yeah, exactly. It was in the different ways for sure.
Yeah,
it was Warriors vibe too, but like
a little different.
Yeah, a little different. How many years were you guys together before Travis was in the band?
So we started in '94, and Travis came in at the end of '95.
Oh wow, okay.
So we were.
I remember seeing you guys with him too.
About a year and a half.
Yeah.
Our original drummer Rod, he's a rad guy, and last time I talked to him, he was working at ESPN.
Nice.
But he was like playing in the band for fun, and which we all were, but it was like a weekends only thing, and he had a cool job and, you know, killer girlfriend, and he kind of had his career going, and we were all like guys that just wanted to see where, you know, where's the wave going to take us?
Totally.
You know, like let's keep surfing it. Like let's just see what happens, you know, and so Chad, our bass player, Crash, he knew Travis from another band, and he was like, we were set to go on a tour, and our drummer Rod was like, I can't go on this tour, and he couldn't go for more than 2 or 3 days, you know. So it was like one of those problems, like, okay, well, we got to find someone that can. And Chad invited Travis to come practice with us, and from the get-go, it was like, oh my gosh, this guy is different. He's different.
Yeah.
He was only 18 or 19. Damn. He came in, he set up his drums, and he had these weird tubes on the top of the drums. So they were like, remember those shoes that you had that you could pump the shoes up and then like made them tighter?
Yeah.
He had these like weird tubes on the top of his drums to like, they were air tuners. It was like some experimental thing that he was using. And I'd never seen that before, and not since, because it must not have worked very good, because he didn't
heard of
use
that
them
either.
But the crazy thing was he'd never heard our band before, and he like looked at our CD. He was like, okay, and then we'd start playing him a song, and we'd get like halfway through the song and be like, I got it. And we were like, really? You don't want to listen to the whole way it ends and everything? He's like, nah, I'll figure it out. And he was so intuitive and so like good. He would click it off, and it was the loudest I've ever heard someone hit the drums, and he nailed it like note for note. Like he'd only heard it 30 seconds of the song.
Dude.
And he even got the like changes. Like he could intuit like, okay, they're going to change right now. And he would change, and it was like, wow. And we went through the whole record like that. Our whole first record,
man.
He'd only listen to like maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds. And he'd be like, I got it. And I think he only had 2 tattoos at the time too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was just a kid. And
that's insane, man.
And he just nailed it. And he was just Travis.
Was this his first tour going on?
Yeah, that was his first time that he ever went on tour.
Wow.
And he's from, Fontana.
Yeah.
He's come from a rough area. And, he's got that gangster in him,
Totally.
And I remember we played this show in Colorado, and some guy jumped up on stage and like started like messing around and like bumped me off the stage, and I pushed him back. I'm like, take it easy, man. And then there was going to be a fight, and Travis stopped playing his drums, and he jumped out over his drums with a screwdriver, and he like was going to stab this guy with a screwdriver.
Holy
We're like, no, Travis, no, don't stab the guy.
Wow.
But there was no it was like those shows where they do them at, like there's no security, and it's like some kid's doing it in his
DIY basement or something.
Yeah. We played a ton of those shows on that first tour, but
wow, that's so
first time on tour for Travis. First time for me too. I mean, like a tour,
Yeah.
And like the van broke down in the middle of the tour, and we had to stay at this girl Nancy's house in Colorado for a couple weeks while they fixed our van.
Couple weeks?
Yeah. It was one of those things. They're like,
you guys just hanging out?
They had to fix a transmission, and then we had to get money wired because we had no money. You know what I mean?
You're just hanging out there?
Oh yeah, we just hung out. I think it was a week. I don't want to say a couple weeks.
Wow, just chilling.
But it like threw out all of our other shows, and we had to drive back, and yeah, it was just crazy,
Yeah.
The next tour we rented a RV and went in an RV, and that was crazy. Just those shows. And
it's crazy. Did Travis stay with you guys for a while? Or?
Yeah, he was with us for a bit.
Yeah.
And
so was he on the first record?
So we had a first record that we did on our own.
Yeah.
It was kind of more like a demo, and it's called
ones?
The Return of the Aquabats.
Yeah.
And then he hung with us, and this is a rad story. And Paul Tillett, who does Coachella.
Yeah.
You know Paul.
Yep.
He's Golden Voice, right?
Yep.
So he came up to us after a show, and I think this might have even been Travis's first show with us. We played with Fishbone.
Okay.
And we were opening for Fishbone, and this is a funny story too. Like, we're getting ready to play, and I walked up to Travis and gave him his costume, and he's like, "What's this?" And I go, "That's your costume." And he's like, "What do you mean, my costume?" And I'm like, "We wear costumes." And I showed him the CD. Remember? And he was like, "Oh, I thought that was just for the album cover. I thought that was a joke." And I'm like, "Well, it is a joke, but we really play with the costumes on." And he looked so bummed. Like,
oh man,
really? I gotta wear this stupid costume? And I'm like, "Yes, it's funny. Like, just it's so dumb. It's good. It's our thing. Like, that's what we do."
Wow.
Anyway,
He did it,
and I think he didn't really want to do it. And he hung with it for a couple years, for sure.
But that was the first show of Fishbone?
First show with Fishbone. And after the show, it was at the Glass House, Pomona.
Great spot.
Amazing place. Paul Tillett came up to us and said, "Hey, I always wanted to start a record label." Sorry, that's...
A record label?
He's like, "I always wanted to start a record label, Golden Voice Records." He's like, "We worked with so many bands over the years and done so much stuff. And I've always seen some great bands. I wish I could put them out." And he's like, "The last band that I promoted and worked with that I was like, I should start a record label and have this band be my first band."
Yeah.
The last band that I had that experience with was No Doubt.
Wow.
And I didn't do it. They went on to be no doubt.
Yeah.
He's like, the only other band I felt that way about since then is you guys.
Wow.
He's like, do you guys want to be the first band on Golden Voice Records? And we were like, what? Are you kidding me?
Amazing, yeah.
And I think of all the like punk shows I went to, all the Golden Voice shows, all the Golden Voice flyers I had. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. You know, we're like a joke, and ironically, it was Travis's first show that I think that's when it happened.
Wow.
And obviously, with an amazing drummer like Travis, it's like, okay, this isn't just a joke. Like these guys know how to play, and we had good musicians in the band, but with Travis, it just seemed like a totally different thing.
I can't imagine, dude.
You know?
Yeah.
And so we were like, yes, and it took Golden Voice Records a little while to get going, but eventually we did a deal with them, and we did our next record, The Fury of the Aquabats.
Fury of the Aquabats, yeah.
That came out on Golden Voice Records.
That was 97, I think.
97, yeah. So Travis had been in like a little over a year when we started recording that, and it took a little bit to get it all done. We recorded at Paramount in Hollywood.
That was probably one of his first recordings. Oh no, yeah, right. No,
a couple. He might have done like some of his other bands that he was in before.
Yeah,
but yeah,
was Blink already going too?
No, Blink was a band. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Blink was definitely a band, and they were Blink, not Blink 182. Right before the 182 came in.
Yeah.
And and so we did The Fury, and we toured on that, and it just kind of became like a thing. We got played on K-Rock, and
it's awesome.
Super Rad was like, again, like a song called Super Rad. It's like, if you know, you know. Like you skate, so like if you had a song and you called it Super Rad, obviously you're joking around. Like it's a sarcastic, like, super rad, dude. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the fact
obviously
that
people loved it though.
Yeah, people liked it, and we liked it, and we got to meet heroes like Tim Armstrong, and
awesome.
Once the record was done, I went over to Mutado on Sunset, that green spaceship.
Yeah.
Where the Devo guys work. Because Devo was like, that was the band, you know. So I took the record over there, and I wrote a nice letter to Mark Mothersbaugh, and I was going to leave it on the doorstep and just walk away. So I left it, and I turned around, and Mark Mothersbaugh was standing right there. He's like, "Hey, can I help you?"
God, dude.
And I was like, "Help! I can't breathe."
That's insane.
And he's like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just leaving this here for you, actually." He's like, "What is it?" And he like opened it up. Aquabats. Oh, I've heard of you guys.
Wow.
And I'm like, you have? He's like, yeah. You play around here, and he's like, why don't you come in? And we spent 2 hours with him, and he was like,
no way,
showing us all his
dude.
computers and keyboards, and
that's
just
incredible. Man.
Became friends, with Mark right there, and so
wow.
Yeah, being in the band was like a cool door to meeting people, and it's been for you too. You know, like all your heroes, like
it's crazy, man.
Steve Caballero.
I know it's crazy when you see these guys grow up in magazines. You think they're like way older than you. Then you meet them like, oh man, they're only a couple years older. But in the magazines, they seem like they're like,
oh yeah,
up here,
Yeah, even Tony always seems so much older than Tony Hawk.
Yeah,
he's only a couple years older than me. I think he's probably your age or maybe a little older than you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's
54
crazy.
Maybe he is.
Just that journey of like being in a band and like traveling, meeting other bands in different cities, and like you said, meeting your heroes. It's awesome.
That's
dude.
so cool. And then we got to like kind of parlay that into the Yo Gabba thing. But
yeah, so were you writing stuff at all when you were a kid? Were you writing things? Were you thinking about producing things?
No.
I know you said you were filming skaters behind the scenes.
Yeah, I did camera work for skateboarding as kind of like just a job. I worked at Val Surf. I don't know if you know what Val Surf is. Like I worked there.
I just sent Brett Gerwitz here the other day. He hit me up. Shout out to Brett Gerwitz. He's like, a good skate shop to bring my 9-year-old to. I was like, Val Surf. And he's like, the place from the 70s? I'm like, yeah.
It's still there.
So he went there.
Yeah.
And then you also worked in like action sports industry too, right? Cameraman stuff?
Yeah, camera stuff and at Ruka, and I worked for Blind and Mark and Jason, Mark Gonzalez and Jason Lee. I worked with those guys, but just kind of more like less about like a career and more like I'm just hanging doing fun stuff, know.
And these are your homies too.
And that's always kind of been. It's weird. Like I guess I should have like written songs. I should have maybe studied the guitar, but I was always just like a big music fan.
Yeah,
like I just loved music. I growing up in LA, and I talked to Matt Bronx about this a couple weeks ago. But
great band, great guy.
With KROQ, like K-Rock back in the 80s was a different thing. Like now it's just everything, every radio station's just like corporate rock. It's
they were playing like a lot of local bands back then.
They played a lot of local bands. They played tons of like English stuff that was like, where's this stuff coming from? I mean, I think the rise of bands, especially in the States, like Depeche Mode and The Cure and like a lot of those big alternative bands, it has to do with like the gate was like coming through LA through K-Rock. They awesome. Like introduced a ton of new stuff all the time to the radio. I mean, I was like, there's like Brian Eno and English Beat and like just this weird mix, but then they'd play like the Bangles or Black Flag. It was like a crazy mix of music.
Yeah.
And the stuff that, you know, obviously stuck around was some of the more cheesier pop stuff, like Just Can't Get Enough from Depeche Mode, you know, like that's like ultimate song of all time, you know, Blue Monday from New Order, like those, they still play those songs. But I remember when they came in, it was like, wow, this is so fresh and crazy, you know, and then there was so much punk music to like dive into in LA. And so like just being a big music fan, like I just wanted to eventually just do it for fun, just joking around, you know.
So are you doing Aquabats at that time? Is that you making a living on that? That's all you're doing before Gabba?
No, okay. So I got married in '98, and all I was doing was Aquabats at the time. So our big record, The Fury of the Aquabats, comes out in '97, and I get married a year later. And some of the guys in the band are like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like getting married?" I'm like, well, "Whatever. I love her. Like,
I got married in '96.
It's my wife, you know." Like
awesome.
And then we had our first kid. We didn't even wait. Like we had our first kid a year later, '99.
Wow.
And we were like, "What do we have to wait for? Let's just have a family." Yeah, you know. Drop in.
Yeah.
You know, what could go wrong? You know, and then obviously it's tough having a family. And '99, when my kid was born, my first child was born, that's when new metal came in, like Limp Bizkit and all that stuff. And things started really changing with like the internet. I guess not even the internet. Like it's just started coming in, and Korn was huge, and ska was like a backlash against like
I remember that
poppy music.
Yeah.
And we were never going to be able to like commercially hold it together. You know, I think we got lucky with Super Rad because we had some we had Paul Tillett. You know, Paul Tillett had K-Rock.
Yeah.
Because they promoted all their shows. Everything, and he was like, "Hey, I want you guys owe me a favor," kind of a thing. Is, you know, they say there's no payola, but you know, it's like friends help each other out.
Totally.
You think about how many bands are popular because somebody knew somebody at their label, like
100, or the radio station, 100%.
I mean, think about Descendants. Like, let's just think about Descendants. Like, When I Get the Time. Like that song could be.
It's an amazing pop song.
A top 40 hit. Forever. It could be one of those classic rock
I agree,
songs,
man.
Right?
I agree.
But why didn't it get out there? Because
great point, man.
You know, there's so much good music that
Sour Grapes.
It just goes right under the bridge, you know?
It's a great point.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think we got lucky. We knew some people, but I just knew that there was no way to sustain like really a career in the Aquabats, like unless we shifted gears and it became like a TV thing, you know? Because this is how it could survive.
Yeah.
And then having a kid, I started watching a lot of like little kids shows and just realizing, wow, there's some really dumb kid stuff out here, you know, and like stuff that talks down to kids. It doesn't like empower kids and make them feel like they're solid on the ground and that's just the sky's the limit. They can do whatever they want. And that's really where Yo Gabba Gabba came from. And I was working other jobs. I was working a night shift with Joe Nelson. Shout out to Joe Nelson, man. Joe Nelson. We were
Trust Records, killing it.
That's right, Trust Records. That's awesome.
So
he's
cool.
Landed in a really rad spot.
Yeah.
But we were like driving the forklifts for like late night shifts, doing like forklift driving, like moving, you know, Christmas baskets. Like we were doing all kinds of stuff, like just. And Joe was managing Aquabats for a while, like
gotcha.
Because. You know, it's Joe.
Yeah.
So,
so the Aquabat Super Show was after Gabba?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we were trying to get the Aquabats going. When I got married, I was like, okay, this is the way we could keep doing this is if it became a TV show, and we put it out there, and like we had a deal from Disney, and we did like a little pilot, and it was terrible, and there was just no way it was going to go anywhere. And I didn't think it was dead. It's just kind of like we didn't do it right. You know, it's kind of like if you have an idea, like I have an idea, it's called the telephone, and then you make it and it didn't work.
Yeah.
You're not just going to like, okay, that's a bad idea. You're going to go, we didn't do it right. So we just didn't do it right. And like the timing was off. And so then Yo Gabba Gabba idea came around, and this is like 90 later, actually 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
We started thinking of the idea, and then we started pitching it, but people didn't get it. And I think I posted something on my Instagram about that. We had these little pitch books, and we go out and show people, and they're like, it was kind of like that movie Hudsucker Proxy where Tim Robbins has a circle on a paper. He's like, for kids. And they're like, what are you talking about? And then they make a hula hoop, and it's like we were pitching this idea for Yo Gabba Gabba, and people were like, what, is it animated? And we're like, no. And just people weren't getting it. So we knew we needed to do it independently.
Is the name inspired by Ramones? Gabba Gabba, we accept
a
you,
little
one of
bit.
us?
We wanted to come up with like a nonsensical magic word, kind of like abracadabra. We're like, and we were going through all these ideas and like combinations of phonetic sounds, like ba ba goo goo or kaja goo goo, or like sounds that little babies could make.
Oh yeah.
Like those rudimentary, simple noises.
Yeah.
And we were just coming up with combos, and someone came up with the Gabba Gabba, and of course the Freaks and the Ramones thing popped in my head. I'm like, there's something to that. I think that's good. And then we just added like a yo, for like Yo MTV Raps, and it like,
works.
Yo
so
Gabba
good,
Gabba.
though.
It just seemed like that was it. And there's so much stuff that happened in creating the show that just it's like the intuition, that feeling, like that's it. You know, there's like a spiritual feeling almost where you can't explain it, and you can't type up a novel about it, but you just know in your heart and in your chest, like, this is the one. That's it. That's there was so much stuff that happened on the show like that. And even the name was just.
Were people tripping on the name at first? Obviously?
Yeah. Like, what does that mean? Like it doesn't mean anything. It's just a magic word, right?
It just works so good. Yo Gabba Gabba. Yeah.
Right. And it's just one of those like unexplainable things. And there were so many things that happened.
Was it hard to get it picked up or sold or whatever, how you do that, whatever, when you pitched it and stuff?
I think relatively no, but it took some time because we had to make it. We went, it took a few years, and then we met up with some friends. We didn't meet up with them. They're just our friends. We're like, hey, and so these guys previously had a chance to invest in Napoleon Dynamite, like some of my friends. And they're our buddies we grew up with, and they had a chance to it kind of like Paul Tillett had a chance to start, Golden Voice Records with No Doubt. These guys had a chance to invest in Napoleon Dynamite, and it became such a huge hit that they're like, okay, next time something comes around, let's invest.
Smart.
And so we had shot this really simple thing, and we showed it to them, and they're like, we don't get this, but we know you guys, and you're not going to make something bad.
Yeah.
So we'll help you guys put up the money. And we shot 2 pilot episodes of Yo Gabba Gabba, and on a really small budget.
Yeah.
And I could probably say now, we weren't always telling what it was, but it was $150,000 to make 2 episodes.
Wow.
And that's for 2.
Yeah.
For 1, that's cheap.
Yeah.
But for 2, it's like unheard of,
Yeah.
And we just figured out how to do it. We didn't have the space to build the whole big set. You came down to the set once, didn't you, with the Max?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I did.
And you saw how big it was.
Yeah.
Like we took 5 days. One day was this part of it, and we shot all the stuff we needed for that. Then we just wrap it, and then the next day was this part, and we would make it so like we just edited it all together, and it seemed like one continuous thing.
Yeah.
But it was a process, and anyway.
Did you do all the writing for everything that?
Scott and I, my buddy Scott and I, we wrote it all. We directed it.
So cool, man.
We wrote. I wouldn't say we wrote all the songs because we had friends writing songs, like other songwriters. And Ricky, our drummer from the Aquabats, wrote songs, and some of Scott's friends wrote songs. Adam, who is our keyboard player in the Aquabats, a trumpet player, he wrote a ton of songs, and he's the voice of Muno, the big Cyclops, and just friends. It's
So
like,
sick,
hey
man.
guys, let's make a show of our buddies. You know,
Yeah.
it's like the Little Rascals. Like, we're gonna put on a show. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it came around. And then once we had that proof of concept, I think in hindsight, that was everything. You know, proof of concept is everything. And
Yeah.
at the time, we thought, we'll make these 2 episodes and we'll take it on the road and then sell these DVDs. That's how we're gonna make money.
Wow.
Is off the DVDs. That's how old it was.
Yeah.
Like,
Dang.
we'll make these DVDs. We'll take the show and do like a live thing with the characters. And when kids want to watch it, they can take it. And then in the meantime, we'll send these DVDs around to the studios and see if they want want
Gotcha.
it. So initially, we sent the DVDs out to everyone: Nickelodeon, Disney, everywhere, PBS.
Yeah.
And we had no replies. Like,
Okay.
and this is like 3 weeks later. Well, no one said anything, and we gave them a card to call us,
Damn it.
just
Yeah.
expecting them to call,
Yeah.
just so like naive.
It's a different world for you guys, though, too.
Yeah. And then we put up a clip on YouTube, and then it went viral, and that was what did it. Like, we put up a clip, and people were like, "What is this? We got to see this." And then we start getting calls. Like, then people start calling.
Really?
Yeah. And this was early days of YouTube. You couldn't
Yeah.
you couldn't monetize off YouTube. If you could have monetized off YouTube when we made this show, we would have just kept it on YouTube.
Killing
Honestly.
it. Yeah.
Because we would have been so killing it.
It's like 66 episodes, right?
yeah.
Wow, man.
I mean,
So it ended up on Nick Jr.,
It
right?
ended up on Nick Jr. And Brown Johnson, who's the executive over like Blue's Clues and a number of
Blue's
successful
Clues.
shows.
Remember that?
She was like, "This show is awesome, and here's what we're gonna do: we're gonna license it, because if we own it, we're gonna change it, and it's gonna make it worse." And we were like, "What? Who says that?"
Yeah.
She's like, "You guys keep it exactly
That's
like you're
incredible,
gonna." And she
dude.
fought for us hard. Like, she's like that A&R person inside the
Yeah.
like, we need another hit song. No, leave these guys alone. They're, like, just let them do
There's
their
always
thing.
somebody. Yeah, that's amazing.
And so it was cool. I mean, it was cool. And then just things
Wow.
started going, and
Yeah.
people got it. And that's what was rad. And I think it comes out of like guys like you and people our age that skateboarded and listened to punk, and
They became parents. All
they
that
became
stuff. Yeah,
parents and
yeah.
are like, I need something for my kid to watch.
Yeah,
Like,
my son loved it, man. It's crazy,
That's so
man.
good.
Yeah.
and you know what's rad is like, and I'm not taking credit for this because obviously he has amazing influences at home, but being able to be a part of his journey and like plant some seeds for music and for styles, and it's in his DNA now, like from watching the show.
Yeah,
like
man,
his
for
creative DNA.
100%.
And
man.
again, I'm not taking credit for it,
No,
but it just
no,
feels
it's true.
exciting to me that he's like he's an adult.
Yeah.
He's like a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He plays the drums, he surfs, and he
Yeah.
grew up watching Yo Gabba Gabba. That's like thrilling to me,
It's awesome, man.
so
It's-
exciting,
Yeah.
He's another one of us.
He is.
Yeah, he's like a,
No,
like
it's true.
rad-
It's beautiful,
rad.
man. To be able
Yeah.
to create that for children and then have people love it and continue. You did so many of them, man.
100%.
It changed your life.
And it totally changed my life in a lot of good ways, because it was like also like a confirmation that like positivity pays off, and that
Yes.
like loving people and believing in people and having faith in each other, like
Yeah.
it just pays off. Like, just go the course, do the right thing, all those things.
Yes.
And and for my own part, like obviously my faith and beliefs and God I felt I had a big hand in it.
Yeah.
Because there was so many magical things that happened that I can't just explain away as like, well, I'm so smart because I graduated high school. I went to college to figure out how to do this. I feel like the more people lean on like the understandings of like books and things like that, and less on like the intuition and like what feels right,
Totally.
it clogs things up. And I feel, and that's just my own experience. Maybe that's just my excuse or justification for not like being smarter, but we just leaned so hard on like, God help us, like help us do the right thing for these kids,
Yeah.
for the show. And we took it seriously. It wasn't, it got a little bit away from us when the show got really popular,
Did you all feel like you're losing control of it?
a little bit. And I think we lost control a little bit of the focus. And it became like, hey, Snoop Dogg's on the line. He wants to be on the show. Or like, people were getting really like wanted to be on the show.
Really?
And we started like, and the network obviously was like, that's all they wanted.
It must be surreal. Yeah, that's
more celebrities. And it got a little bit away of the focus and the nucleus of the show, which is like, do something positive for children, make them feel safe and loved, and give them power to like make a better world. Like
totally
focus the energy on what's important, not just making a show to make toys and make money and breakfast cereals and all that crap.
We did so many things, right? Like that.
We did so much stuff, but
wow.
I think if that was our design in the beginning and it wasn't like purely like making a show for Max, making for Penelope, for like our kids, you know, like what's going to make them feel good and help them through tough times, or if they're scared of the dark, like what song could we write? Or like, really coming out of a place of love was once you start getting away from that, then things started getting a little like loose in the show, and
were they trying to take over like what you guys wrote?
Fortunately, well, a little bit, not too much. They were the creative execs at Nickelodeon were actually really pretty cool. But they also have mandates and agendas at corp, because it's a business. It's a business, and
it's huge.
They were just like the more celebrities you can get in the show, and that
but it wasn't about that originally.
No, it wasn't, and it shouldn't have gotten about.
Did Snoop
that.
make the show?
He did the live show.
Nice.
He did the live show.
With Biz Markie though.
Biz Markie was on every episode practically.
That's incredible.
So
man.
Awesome. He was. And obviously you're from New
I grew
York,
up on him.
and it's like
man.
growing up with hip hop and punk, like that was what we did, like listening to all that stuff,
Yeah.
The Jungle Brothers and,
yeah, man.
BDP and like all that stuff.
That must have been cool to have. He must have been amazing.
So
man.
great. And he was super cool. And, it was just so organic how that all happened.
How
he was in
happen?
The pilot.
Okay. He was in the pilot. Yeah.
So what happened Biz Markie has a song called The Biz Dance, doing the Biz Dance, and it's like throw your arms in. It's like just some crazy weird dance,
amazing,
right?
Yeah.
And Scott Schultz, my partner on the show, he had an idea like, hey, what if we taught kids like just a silly dance to like just get them up and get them moving while they're watching the show? Because we had this like conscience about the show too, as we realized we're actually going to be giving screen time to kids.
Yeah.
And they're going to get it either way. And we'd rather them watching something positive. But what if we could empower them or like inspire them to get up and move around,
just to sit there.
not just to sit there.
Yeah.
So he wanted to have an active parts in the show. So that's where like the dancey dance stuff came from, and the Lance dance, and like
Lance
showing like people dancing and like, come on, get up. Like that was like a big issue. And so the Biz Dance inspired that, and then Scott was like, what if we could get Biz like to actually teach it? He's like, that's my dream. If this show ever gets picked up, that's my dream. I'm like, well, why don't we just try? We're doing a pilot. We're shooting it next week. Let's just see where Biz is.
So how do you reach out to Biz Markie?
And so that's the thing. Our producer, Justin, Facebook was like a new thing. He just looked up Biz on Facebook, and he's like, guess what, guys? Biz is performing in LA the week we're shooting the pilot.
No way, dude.
And that's just one of those things where it's like,
yeah, man, for sure.
That feeling that you get like, this is meant to be. Like, this is what the universe, this is what God wants. This is this is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And then
we show up to a show or something?
We emailed him and said, hey, we're doing a kids show. We want you to be a part of it. And we're not with a network. It's an independent.
Was it his email?
Yeah, it was Monty Biz.
Okay.
Monty was his
manager. Okay.
And we emailed Monty. He emailed us back and said, "Sure, we'll show up." But
wow.
There was a fee,
of course.
But it wasn't like
crazy,
outrageous.
Yeah,
it was just like, yeah, we'll come down for $500.
Yeah,
it was cheap.
That's amazing. Yeah,
for us, it was like, well, okay, only $500. Because it's Biz Markie.
Totally.
If he would have asked for $10,000, we would have been like, yeah, well, it's Biz Markie. It was like, he came down and he did a dancey dance. And then the minute he was done with the dancey dance, he said, if this show goes and gets picked up, I want to teach kids how to beatbox. He's like, watch. He's like, hey, kids, business beat of the day. And then he started doing the beat.
No.
And I'm like, stop. Let's go. We put up a green screen. Like, do it right now. Let's do it right now. Let's put it in the thing.
Oh, my God.
And because it was one of those feelings like,
Yeah.
this has to be on the show. Right.
Yeah.
And it was sick.
That
He
is
just,
so cool,
he
man.
made it up. And that's so much stuff on Yo Gabba Gabba came from Lance Rock or the actors.
Where's Lance from?
Lance is from St. Louis originally.
Okay. Amazing.
And he moved out here to LA to be part of the entertainment capital of the world, you know, like not to be an actor, but to be like a musician. He's a DJ.
Yeah.
And that's where Scott met him. Scott was in a band touring, and Lance was in a band called the Raymakers.
Okay.
And they were like a kind of electro pop band, and Lance would DJ and dance. And when we were putting the show together, we were kind of trying to come up with a host idea.
Yeah.
Scott was like, I have the perfect guy. Lance. His name is Lance.
Yeah.
And he was working at Amoeba Records on Sunset.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll call him. So he sets this meeting up. We go down to meet Lance at Amoeba. And we're like, hey, is Lance? Scott's like, hey, is Lance here? And they're like, yeah, we'll go get him. And Lance comes out from the back. And literally he's wearing like rainbow striped pants. And he had like this crazy like Sly and the Family Stone collar. He had a giant fro and he had a beard at the time. And he's like, hey, friends, what's up? Like, so like just that.
Perfect.
I was like, again, that feeling like,
Yeah.
this is the guy. The door is open.
Yeah.
You know, take him with you. You need to. It was like those
It's
feelings,
insane, man.
all those like magic things happened. It was like, what?
Yeah.
You know?
Does Biz Markie come out here to film stuff, or he was just filming it back east? And
Yeah, no, he would come out.
Wow.
He would come out. And I know he doesn't like flying on planes. So they would drive, and I think he would fly sometimes though. But yeah, he would come out and we would bundle like 2 days of Biz, like film all this stuff in 2 days.
Wow, man.
You know, like give him wardrobe change, and then
He was totally cool with everything.
Oh, so cool. And then he did the live tour. I think he did it 4 times. He did the live tour. He would tour on the bus. He would come because I don't know
Did
if
he
he
have
ever,
wife and kids? No. I don't know if he had wife.
did. He
and
have
kids.
he had a wife at the end,
Yeah, and he lived in New
and
York
I think
still.
she has like a kid from a different marriage.
And was he in Long Island or New York? He still lived in New York, right? Straight up.
Baltimore.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Be more.
he's living in Baltimore for a long time. And talking with Biz about sports was fun because, like, you know, he's living in Baltimore, so Ravens, you know, but then I like Pittsburgh, you know, I like, you know, he'd be talking about, like, because he's from all over the place, but
Yeah.
New York, you know, he started in New York.
I'm so happy that he got to be part of that.
Oh, man, we were so lucky to be a part of that and have him, you know, be part of our lives as well because it's just amazing.
Yeah,
Such a
man.
rad guy, so funny. And Cool V, his DJ, and they'd come out. They were a big part of holding the live tour together too because they had so much experience.
Yeah, totally.
And then there's a lot of guys, you know, Lance had been in bands like playing in small clubs, but coming out to like 5,000 people.
It got that big, huh?
Yeah,
those
oh, it
tours?
got huge. Yeah.
Wow, man.
And
you would be on the whole tour and everything?
our first tour we did was Australia. We toured Australia first.
Dang.
And the first show was like almost 10,000 people, like in this
Isn't
arena
that
in
crazy? Like
Sydney.
you've been in a band for all these years, like just playing music, having fun, and you come out with this show and you
Yeah.
play these arenas and shit.
Arenas. It was
Wow.
crazy. It's a totally different production schedule and rehearsals and getting it all down. You know, you're in a band, like, hey, we got the songs down, let's go play, you know.
Yeah.
We'll roll out the banner and then boom, we're like, for the Aquabats, we have a screen that plays videos, but like it's no big deal, you know.
So what years was that when it was huge
So
like
it
that?
started 2009.
Yeah.
Was the first time we toured, and then we did a bunch of tours after that.
It just got bigger and bigger.
2011, 2014. Yeah, got bigger and bigger and better and better.
It's crazy, man.
And yeah, and then you'd go to shows and there'd be all these like famous people with their kids, and then just
Wow.
like the first time we did the tour in Sydney, I remember I flew out there because I'm like, I'm going, and you guys are going to pay for it because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to be there. And the first night, it's packed arena in Sydney, and I went up to the top to where the real people are sitting. Like, no offense to anyone that
Yeah.
bought the tickets in the front; they're real people too. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like, I come from the people that couldn't afford to go to
Totally.
those shows.
Nosebleeds. Yeah.
Like, that's my family. We never hardly did any of that stuff because we didn't have any money. And so
Yeah.
I went to the nosebleeds, and there was this, it was like a Maori family from New Zealand.
Wow.
It was mom and dad, their 3 kids, and the grandma and grandpa. and they were singing all the songs.
Beautiful, man.
And I just start crying, dude. I couldn't.
Wow.
And then the dad comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, you okay, bro?" This accent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, this is really awesome. Like, thank you." And he was like, "What?" Because he didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to explain it to him. But eventually, by the end of the show, I explained like why I was touched, but it just felt like being a part of something that was way bigger than me, or like this.
It's incredible.
This
man.
is something that like the world needs.
Yeah.
And that sounds really like cocky, but I'm not attaching myself to that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it feels like something like Yo Gabba Gabba needed to happen, whether it was me or somebody else, or it's just something that needed to be there.
Yeah.
The world needed positive vibes. Like there has to be a countermeasure to all the negativity
100%,
in our world, and being a part of like the insurgency, I love it. I love being a part of
It's beautiful, man.
the positivity, and so yeah, it was emotional because I realized that I was just a little part of making something. And again, like I give all the credit to everybody else too.
Yeah.
Like it's a team. It's not just me.
When it's blowing up, do you realize it's blowing up? Is it very surreal?
Yeah.
Does it happen pretty fast?
I don't know. Like it's just kind of, you're kind of focused on what you're doing, and
Yeah.
it's weird. It's weird being like, and I equate this, like there's a line in one of the Aquabats songs. It's like waving checkered flags at the Malibu Grand Prix. It's like that's your job. I'm going to quit my job because my job is waving the checkered flag, watching everybody else win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
for a long time I felt like that. Like a lot of my friends went on to become super famous. And
Totally.
like very Jason and Spike Jones and like Mark Gonzalez. I mean, those guys were already legends,
Yeah.
but like even more so. And then like, being in bands and seeing guys like winning the lottery,
Totally.
like Travis and
Yeah.
there's a lot of other examples I could use.
Yeah.
And it's not, by saying that, I'm not saying like, well, what about me? Like,
No.
I'm just saying like watching other people blow up, I got used to kind of just thinking about, well, that's not going to happen to me. Like,
Yeah.
my job is just focus on what I want to do and have fun.
Yeah.
And Paul Tollett told me that one time too. He's like, what I like about you, Christian, is even if you were just selling your paintings in Huntington Beach on the street, you would still be doing that. He's like, I'm just glad that Yo Gabba Gabba popped off for you guys.
Yeah.
Because it's fun. It's cool to see that something that you're doing is got out there and it's affecting other people.
Yeah, in a positive way. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think as far as it like blowing up, it still never really felt like that. And, part of that's also like financially, it was tricky too. Like,
But it does change your life financially.
No.
Okay.
That's another reason why. It's like you see all these
gotcha.
guys like, oh, Travis owns his giant mansion in Calabasas and every Cadillac ever made. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That's rad for Travis. But like,
Wow.
that was another thing that was crazy is the show was like a worldwide hit, but we had bad partners. It was like a bad record deal. And so
Story just got really sad now.
yeah, but not
Dang.
really though, because it's kind of like one of those things where if you never had money, but you had joy, that's all that matters.
No, that's true. That's totally.
Right? Because money would solve a lot of problems.
As long as you feel like you were paid for your work, your hard work. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got paid while we were doing the show.
Yeah.
But all the like stuff afterwards.
Residuals and all that stuff,
like-
royalties, all that stuff. Yeah. Okay. Got you.
Nothing.
Got you.
And
Yeah.
I'm always hesitant to bring that up because
There's a lot of people on the podcast talk about that in their life, but different
yeah,
parts of the
because
time.
I'm always hesitant to talk about it because I don't want people to think I'm ungrateful or again,
No,
I
not at
feel
all.
I'm entitled to this.
But
And-
you busted your ass and
and-
worked hard
and
to
I
do
also
it.
don't want to get in a legal problem
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we're
yeah.
still partners with the people that have all the money.
Yeah. And it could come back someday.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming back.
Okay.
We're actually in pre-production right now
Wow.
with Apple TV to do a new season of Yo Gabba Gabba.
Amazing.
So-
And it ended in 2015.
2015 was the last time it aired,
Last time it
but we
aired.
stopped shooting 2012.
Wow. Okay.
So like we haven't shot
10 years.
a new
Wow.
episode in 10 years. Yeah.
That's exciting though, right?
Yeah,
To come
so
back?
exciting. And things are different, and
And the same people.
for the most part,
Yeah.
the same people. And Lance, we've been talking to him and trying to get him, like secure that.
Yeah, he's back,
We want
yeah.
to bring him back.
Is he in Cali still?
He's in
Cool.
LA. He's an LA guy now. So
Also, rest in peace, Biz Markie.
yeah, and that we're talking
That
about
was heavy, man.
how to honor his
Yeah.
legacy in the show. And
Were you
not
talking to him
replace
before he got sick and stuff like that?
Yeah,
In touch?
that's it's like when Steve Caballero texts you and says, "Toby, what's up, bro?" And then
Yeah.
you're like, "Whoa!"
Biz
Or like
Markie, dude.
Biz would keep in touch with us. He'd call me. Like I'd be in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner or something. I look at my phone. It's Biz, like,
So sick.
Biz, what's up, man? He's like, Christian, what are you doing?
He's had so
You
much
know?
life, man. He just seems so
and he
lot of
he would
positive
just call
energy.
to check in. Like, how you doing, man?
Yeah.
And when are we doing more shows? I got to get out there. Hey, send me more shoes. He always loved free stuff too.
What kind of shoes would you send him?
Vans?
Okay. He rocks some Vans, huh?
Yeah,
So sick.
but it's Biz, and he's comes from where he comes from,
know.
and so like when there's free stuff, he's always
But
like,
he's a person I would love to see in a mansion as well.
yeah, of course,
Somebody who changed the game of hip hop, paid his dues, inspired
Yeah.
so many people. Just like a lot of the bands that we love, that a lot of bands surpass them, but they're the creators and they're they're OGs. You know what I'm saying?
right. And I don't think it was
It
like
makes me
that
sad
for
sometimes,
Biz,
yeah.
and that's why for him, Yo Gabba Gabba was like a new life.
I know, and I love that.
It gave him new life,
And it was perfect.
and we didn't. It wasn't like by design, like,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna give Biz new life. We
No,
just
no.
loved Biz,
Yeah.
and so.
He's probably so grateful for that, man.
And he was, and he would always call and just be like, "Wow, man, we got to do more shows," and you could just feel that he loved being a part of it.
He probably started getting recognized as being on that show, not even hip hop, all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And even Mark Mothersbaugh, like he'll text me or call me every now and then, and to me that's just like, what?
Yeah.
Because it's Devo, and Mark always says he's like, I got recognized more for Yo Gabba Gabba than for Devo, 100%.
Wow, man.
He's like, I still walk through airports today and little kids will point at me and go, "Mommy, it's Yo Gabba Gabba."
That's
He's
amazing,
like,
dude.
all the time. And he's
And
like,
they have
he
one of
loves
your
it.
heroes on the show with you.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy, man.
Mark is just like insane genius,
Yeah.
like so amazing. And he's still just knocking it out of the park with soundtracks and
Yeah.
music and art. And
So with this time between the Gabba and now coming back, obviously you guys made a new record. Aquabats put a new record on 2020.
yeah, which was
Kooky,
weird.
spooky.
Yeah, we recorded it in 2019, and then we wanted it to come out. And our first single was going to be Karate Body, which is like, a song about karate. And then all that stuff went down in the summer of 2020 with violence and
Oh yeah.
the George Floyd. And it
Yes.
was just like, let's just be sensitive and just release it in the fall.
Yeah.
So it came out around Halloween, but it had already been done for a year. Like we'd had the record out, like finished. But that's, that's just the way it is.
Is there a huge difference going from writing like Gabba songs and writing Aquabat songs?
Yeah, I think so. Gabba songs are way easier to write.
And they have to be super rated G.
And
Not that
Aquabats are pretty that way, but
yeah.
Aquabats, we also kind of like, I don't know. It's just, it should be the same, but
Yeah.
we kind of like locked into kind of like rock and roll. It's more rock and roll.
Yeah,
It's more
yeah.
punk. It's more ska. It's more, and you don't want to write, writing songs. You don't want to write the song that has already been written. You want
Yeah.
to be unique and do something you haven't done before.
No, totally.
And then you're like, well, it'd be nice if we could write a song that the whole world could sing along to, but that's really not going to happen. Let's just write songs. There's so much more like racking your brain about writing songs with the Aquabats than about Yo Gabba Gabba. Yo Gabba Gabba is easy. Like,
Yeah.
just write a rad beat and then something that has to do with something kids need to learn, or
Yeah.
it could be anything, you know, like, I don't know, like glasses make me see,
yeah.
just,
But no pressure
No
from the
pressure.
success of Gabba to write a crazy Aquabats record and all that stuff. Yeah. It's different.
yeah, it doesn't carry over. I think if anything, there's like, we don't want to like do the same stuff with Aquabats that we've been doing, but we kind of feel like we still have something to prove a little bit. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Because when you paint yourself into a corner, like the famous, Raymond Pettibone picture of the guy like six pack who's painted himself into a corner and he's just like stoked about it.
Yeah.
I think that's psychologically what the Aquabats have done to themselves. It's like we painted ourselves into a corner and we just have to like be.
Yeah.
We have to wait for the paint to dry. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And not in a bad way, but just we still want to prove to people that like, look, you can have fun and do this and not take it so seriously, and it's just for fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it'd be cool if like, wow, the Aquabats wrote that one song that I love. It's amazing, like, and I know there's people out there that do love our music, and I love them for loving our music.
There's probably people fans of Gabba that come see you guys now.
Oh, for sure. And that's been the weird thing about, because we had the Aquabats Super Show too, the TV show.
Yeah.
Which maybe Max remembers too. He probably watched it a little bit
when
he was younger. But like we would have like punker guys that would come to our shows, like people that were into ska and punk, and
then young kids with their parents.
Have young kid with their parents.
Yeah.
And like that thought it was like the Ice Capades or something. Like, you know what I mean? Well, I thought this was the Aquabats Super Show on ice. You know what I mean? Like, they were going to come out to like a pre-recorded track and like, Aquabats, let's go. And like fight some rubber monster or something. Like, so when we come out and like CJ Ramon is opening the show, or like,
That's cool,
it's
man.
like, he's rad. Have you had him on your show before?
No, I want to. He lives up north. We talked a couple times. Yeah.
Just get him to ride his motorcycle down here.
I know I should.
You do it.
He's playing with the Me First and Gimme Gimmes now too.
He is. He's cool. He's a rad guy. But you know what I mean? And it's loud and it's like, it's music. We're like blasting it out there and rocking out. And so it's a weird mix of crowds at the Aquabats show.
For sure. I have a picture framed to the right of me in my kitchen. I'll post it when I drop this episode. But my son's first stage dive was actually at the Rancid Aquabat show at the Fonda. And I think you threw him into the crowd. And we were standing by the side of the stage and you were throwing kids into the crowd. I think you also had like some blow up like pool toys or something. And you looked over and said, is it cool? We're like, yeah, sure. And then I looked at my wife. We turned back and Max is like, this photo was insane. Like my son's flying in the air over the barricade into the crowd. It was his first dive. It was pretty cool though.
It's a really good picture too, by the way. It's so good.
I told my East Coast friends that was a Cro-Mag show or something.
No, I remember that show too because I was at the Fonda.
Yeah.
And like, LA crowds are a little bit more,
Oh yeah.
Because they get so much music. I mean, whatever the reason is, like for some reason, LA crowds they're a little more like
standoffish.
Prove it to me that you're good.
Exactly.
And being on a Rancid tour with Aquabats was tricky because, we're like, Rancid is like, Rancid. They're
love Rancid,
for real.
Man.
I love them.
My favorite band.
So good. And we're a joke. Like, the Aquabats are a joke. And at the same time, we know how to play our music and we have fun. We're a real band. But it's less of a like, it's a different vibe. So when we come out opening for Rancid, like crowds would be like sometimes a little bummed, like what are these guys doing with my favorite band? Like these guys are a joke, and not everybody, but I remember that show. And
but Rancid likes you, they brought you on tour. So,
that show particularly at the Fonda, the crowd was a little bummed, like the Aquabats, come on. But once we started throwing kids, it was on. Like,
it was on.
Yeah,
there was a lot of kids getting thrown.
My brother-in-law has a son that's a paraplegic, and he has like
that was that night.
He has two prosthetic limbs, his legs, and he came out on the stage.
That's right.
And I was throwing kids, and he was like, "Throw me," and I was like, "Well, all right, I'm not discriminating." So
yeah, it was beautiful.
I threw him in the crowd with his crutches and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people caught him, it was rad.
Beautiful, man. Yeah.
He came up to me afterwards though. He says, "Hey, Christian, that was fun, but I don't want to do that again." I was like, "Okay, Joey. Okay, Joey. Never again."
That was a beautiful moment. I do remember that.
But Joey saved us with the Rancid crowd. So once you're throwing a kid in the crowd with crutches, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I got to give it to the Aquabats. That was pretty punk.
It was a little scary too. That was a far throw too.
Over the barricade. Yeah.
So Gabba Gabba is coming back, and it ended because he ran his course. Kind of, you guys are burnt.
No. Gabba.
You weren't burnt at that point.
No. We wanted to keep going.
I got you.
Gabba is so mired in like crazy politics. Mm-hmm. Like, it was doing great for Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And it had all these awards and people would recognize it. But Nickelodeon, because they licensed the show, it wasn't their show.
Got you.
Do you know what I mean? So there was all kinds of.
That's great for you, though.
It was good for us.
Thanks that lady had your back.
In theory.
In theory. Yeah, good point.
We still own the show, but we, again, our partners figured out how to spend all the money and not pay us, if that makes sense.
Got you. So now new, fresh,
and we redid our contracts with our partners, and
awesome,
things are looking good. But
it's exciting.
But yeah, Gabba was tricky because it was like firing, on all cylinders, and then it just went away, and we've never really been able to explain that. I've never told anyone why. Outside of just like innuendos and
I'm sure people are bummed too. A lot of families, parents, all that.
I mean, and fortunately with streaming TV, there was a way that people could still watch it. But even then, once a show leaves a network, it's like you have to redo deals with people, and it's just it's super political.
Has this been going on for these years, or just something more recent?
Yeah, it's been
since then,
battling the whole time with different networks and different things and trying to get it sold, and then finally Apple came in with.
So this many years since the last episode. Yeah. Wow.
Because it's kind of like an option on an album, they do options on a show.
Yeah.
So the license term is like 5 years, but then they could stop airing it whenever they want.
Got you.
So that's kind of what happened. It's like it stopped airing,
5 years,
but they still had the rights
to
the show.
So tricky, man.
Sitting on
tricky,
it.
Man.
Yeah, it was so tricky.
But it was so new for you, anyways. Just a passion you had to make the show. You weren't really, you didn't really know the ins and outs of that business or the industry. You come from where you come from.
No.
So you obviously learned pretty fast and still learning, but now it's coming back.
Yeah, and that's why
Will there be a new kind of...
Being an attorney would have been a better job if I wanted to just make tons of money,
Yeah.
Because that's who really makes all the money.
Yeah.
Is the attorneys.
It's true. In all industries.
Yeah, that's right.
I was trying to think of somebody who could replace, not that Biz Markie is replaceable, rest in peace, but the first person that came into mind was Flavor Flav.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I just thought about that. If you had to have somebody physically on there, unless you're going to have some old footage of Biz, but yeah.
Well, I know when Biz passed away, Questlove came out and did like a big tribute to him and said, Biz was my mentor and he took me record shopping and he taught me a lot of stuff. And Questlove's been on the show a number of times as well. We have a good relationship with Questlove, but that's something we're talking about is, who could take over for Biz in the beat of the day segment.
Respectfully way,
and how can we do it in a respectfully way that's not just someone else beatboxing, but it's somebody that's like curating
Dougie
beats
Fresh.
or Dougie Fresh or even if it's like someone in charge that's going out to different people and it's different every time. But it's like old school hip hop or people that
that'd be so cool. Or just his friends or his peers or people.
Yeah.
That's so many things. There's so many things you can do with that. It's incredible. So I'm sure there's people that never made it onto the show back then that are still in your mind to have a kind of a bucket list.
100%. And Bad Brains was right up there. Like even back then, we tried to get Bad Brains on the show, and it was hard.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was tricky.
Well, they're all spread out across the country as well, and different people. Yeah,
we wanted them to do a reggae song, but that would have been fun.
Angela Moore, was he on there? Fishbone.
We haven't had Fishbone on. Yeah, that would be great. Angelo's great.
He's amazing. I had him on the pod. He's amazing.
I've talked to him about being on the show a couple times.
He'd be incredible, man.
He'd be super fun.
So
we definitely wanted the Beastie Boys to come on, but that was before MCA passed away.
Yeah, man.
There's so many people. Like there's so many bands.
I love that it's like you can kind of pick and choose, like you choose who you want, like one of your heroes, just whatever,
Right. I mean, definitely we talked to the Pixies. There's a bunch of bands we tried to get on the show back then that we'd still love to bring back on. But
yeah, I'm sure you got like a bucket list in your mind.
Oh yeah. I mean, even Ween would be amazing just because.
I remember Ween.
I like Ween.
What did you do in Pretty in Pink?
So yeah, kid actor. I was like, there's a spot in the movie where Andy, who's played by Molly Ringwald, works at the record store, and I was hired to be this annoying kid that was like always at the record store, hanging out.
I remember those kids.
And so Annie Potts in one of the scenes, she shoots me with a staple gun, like, you missed my eye by an inch. But what was rad is that week I shot for a week, and there was a bunch of different scenes that now it would be deleted scenes, but I'm sure that film has been long burned. But there was a bunch of different stuff I did that they had me at this annoying kid, but only a couple of the things made it into the movie.
Okay.
But I was that kid that, which I was that kid in my neighborhood too.
Hanging out at the record store?
Yeah. Some of my earliest memories was there's a record store called Licorice Pizza right around the corner from my house.
There's a movie called Licorice Pizza.
Yeah, a movie. It's named after the record store.
I had no idea, dude, just now. Okay.
There was a chain of record stores in the valley called Licorice Pizza. And
Did not know that.
I think there was 3 or 4 of them, but right around the corner from my house, there was a Licorice Pizza. And they had free licorice at the counter. Like they would like these jars of, you go in, you buy a record. Hey, do you want a piece of licorice? So as kids, we would like ride our bikes over there just to like get
free licorice.
Licorice. And pretty soon the people at the record store see us coming and they get out of here, like go away.
Yeah.
But it's free. Like you have to buy something first, anyway. But some of my earliest memories of punk rock and album covers and artwork like was from going to that record store.
So cool.
And I've told this story before, but like Unicorn Records did a 7-inch giveaway of Black Flag, Thirsty and Miserable, and I think what was the B-side, I can't remember, but they did it with a special Licorice Pizza release.
Gotcha.
And you'd go by the door and there'd be all this free stuff. Like that's where all the flyers were for shows, and sometimes there was records, and so there was like these stacks of. And I remember as a kid, we grabbed a stack like this of Black Flag 7 inches.
Wow.
And we took them back to my friend's house and we say, Black Flag, like the bug spray, And then we listened to it and I liked it. It was like, I was like, But the older brother who was like into AC/DC and Kiss and stuff, he's like, that sucks. It's punk crap, And he's like, get rid of it. So we took this stack of Black Flag 7 inches and we rode our bikes to the top of this bank, a parking lot, and we threw them all at cars. We crushed.
Imagine if you had just one of them right
one
now.
of them. One of them, I think, goes for like almost $500. Like,
oh my God.
Like brand new, like a brand new one.
Bro. That's
like a really good shape.
Yeah.
And we had a stack, and I just remember like watching them like shatter on cars, and like
that was kind of fun to do.
We did crazy stuff, and I think about that. Like if my kids did that, I would be so mad because that could cause an accident. And,
think about that.
But we like destroyed all these Black Flag records on these cars on Victory Boulevard in the valley.
That's insane.
And then a couple of years later, when I got into punk, I realized what I did. Like, oh my gosh, why did I do that?
what was the 7-inch? You remember what 7-inch it was?
It was this special. It's like
was it TV Party? No.
Thirsty and Miserable was on one side.
Okay.
And but it was like a special just made giveaway.
Okay.
For Licorice Pizza, and I think
crazy.
There was no picture sleeve. It's just like a white that has a print on it. Says like special.
That's incredible, dude.
Licorice Pizza thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and collectors like, oh yeah, I have one of those, and it's worth a lot of money or whatever.
I threw hundreds of more.
I threw like at least 20. I mean, it was like a stack.
So crazy. When is Gabba Gabba coming out? When do you think it's coming out? Next year?
Next year. That's the plan. We're gonna shoot in the fall.
So you have to come back here and do that. You can be going back and forth.
And that's why I've been going back and forth. Yeah. Which I don't mind. I have a place to stay here and tons of friends and but for what it's worth, there is some peace knowing that like financially we're okay there.
Yeah. It's awesome.
We were able to buy like a little plot of land with like trees, and we've been planting vegetables and homesteading.
It's cool, man.
This is rad,
Yeah,
being in the sun, growing fruit and stuff.
A lot of positive things came from the lockdown. I think just thought of change. And
I think the realization too that life is fragile. It's right there, and like as a kid, as a 9-year-old throwing Black Flag records at cars, like almost causing people to die. Like the pandemic helped us me realize like, wow, I need to like take life a little more seriously and what am I doing? Per se, am I waiting for life to happen or am I like making it happen?
100%. That's a really great point. Just like not stressing about things you have no control, but the things you have control of, like getting shit done,
right?
Getting more motivated and stuff and focused.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Whereas like one of the, I guess, byproducts of Gabba becoming popular was like, I was able to get a lot of meetings for other ideas that I've had.
I was going to ask you that, yeah.
But nothing's really come to fruition. And like 10 years afterwards, I'm like, why haven't I been able to do more
from that? Yeah.
From that. And it's because I'm not doing what I was doing when I made Yo Gabba Gabba, just doing it myself. Like, just go do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's always been my mantra. But in hindsight, this last few years before the pandemic, I was just waiting for someone to like give me the green light or write me a check or, I'll go make this awesome idea. But
you got too comfortable maybe or no?
I think expectations like were a little too like, you get a manager and an agent and they're like, no.
Do you have all that still?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've come full circle. Like I started with like, look, no one's going to give me any money to do anything. Let's find some investors or let's find partners. And then they're like, no, we'll go pitch and, use other people's money and OPM,
Yeah.
Don't ever use your own money for your own projects. I'm like, well, why? If Gabba, for me financially ever became like super successful, I would use money to make more stuff.
Of course.
But why wouldn't you,
But that's your super DIY mentality too.
That comes from punk rock.
100%.
And that's what I look back is like, wow, pandemic kind of like shook my Etch-a-Sketch up a little bit. It's like, let's get back to what we know. That. And that's do it yourself. Like you just got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's how the whole thing started. Everything started for you,
Right. Because I'm sure for Travis and for people, like doors are always opening. Like, hey, will you come, Boost Mobile Pro me? You know what I mean? Let me pay you money to like promote my products like that. That's cool. But maybe that's not my journey.
Yeah.
Maybe my journey needs to stay like, just keep doing it. But that's another thing I can't knock Travis for is he's still doing it. Like he's one
of the hardest working men I know, man.
Working so hard.
He kills
it. Loves music. He's like the best.
And he loves all types of music, plays with all types of artists.
100%. So I don't want to like make that seem like I was knocking Travis.
No. He stays busy, stays practicing, pushing himself, everything, man. It's super inspirational.
100%. And that's
a machine.
That's why he's so good. Like, it was funny. We first were on tour with Blink, and Travis always had a practice pad with him, and he was always practicing. And when we were first on tour with Blink, when they had their old drummer Scott, like Travis would come out and play the show and would just destroy on the drums, and then within a couple days, I noticed that Scott started doing his practice pad too, because Travis had that impact on people. Like, that guy is good. Why? Because he's always practicing.
All day, man. It's still practicing.
When we were in the van driving for hours, he would just be like listening and
so dedicated to the craft, man.
100%.
And it paid, and it's changed his life. Dude.
I looked at like athletes like Kobe Bryant who are so dedicated to basketball or like what they're doing. He was such, stories of Kobe Bryant being such a crazy hard worker, and it was kind of like people were annoyed by it because he was like first guy there, last guy to leave, still shooting free throws. That's Travis, man. Yeah. That's why he's so good. Like
100%.
Yeah.
One of my questions,
and that's for me, like me not being like that is like, maybe if I could go out and make more stuff, like be constantly focused. But
I bet you always have shit in your mind. Like you always think of the things to do all the time. Be creative and
then I sometimes remember to write them down.
I was going to say, do you have like daily rituals you do with that kind of stuff or?
No, but if I get get an idea or something, I'll just write it down or like do notes on my phone or and I used to carry like a notebook with me and like just those like binder notebooks and just write stuff down in it and like lyrics or ideas for stuff, and I have like a whole file folder full of them.
Wow.
They're just like crazy things, and sometimes it's just notes from work or phone numbers, but there's a lot of weird stuff, you know what I mean? It's just coming out all the time. But
so do you have everything written or have everything planned out for the new season already?
Not quite. So the thing with the new show is that Apple doesn't want just a season 5, and it's been 10 years, and there's things that we need to like kind of tweak a little bit to make it feel like this is Apple's Yo Gabba Gabba, not Nickelodeon's Yo Gabba Gabba. And networks are big on that.
Yeah.
If they reboot something, they want to own that reboot.
Mm-hmm.
So we're tweaking some stuff a little bit, but not too much. Because one of the things I was like with Yo Gabba Gabba, I was like, I don't want to change it. It's really good like it is,
Yeah.
you know? So we're just trying to figure out how to make it different without making it feel different, if that makes sense.
Or kind of keep it feel like it keeps going from where it left off in a sense, but maybe minus a couple of people. Yeah.
Right. But so we have some ideas about that, and we're doing some screen tests and like testing some new technologies and stuff.
Oh yeah, lots changed since then too, as well, with all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm psyched for you guys. It's incredible, man, because there's a generation of kids who just missed it for all those years or just hadn't seen any new episodes, and now they can. It's cool, man. It's exciting.
You think about kids that were born during the pandemic too. They're like coming into it. By next year, they'll be the perfect age group for Gabba, and like that's something we're really focusing on with the new show is healing and grounding kids again and making them feel safe and.
So
because there's so much damage that I think psychologically is done
anxiety,
to everybody.
Depression, everything's going on. Yeah,
they're talking about how face masks have like hurt kids' speech development. So we're working on speech development stuff in the show, which will be subtle.
Yeah,
and it's
for
not
sure.
like now we're doing speech development.
No.
But there's ways you can do it in songs and things that will be subtle and no one will know. But that's what they do.
I like that. Man.
So we're trying to be focused again, how we were in the beginning, on the needs of the child.
Yeah, especially now, man. The last couple of years, it's brutal.
It has to be 100% about the kids because, again, if it's for any other reason, it doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
And that goes back to you can't have a suicidal tendencies hat and Vision Streetwear shorts, because people will spot you, and kids will spot a fake. You have a kid.
Totally. Even how you hold your board, everything, all that stuff.
Yeah, you have to be genuine with what your motives are in the show. Because 100%. The people that really are paying attention are the ones you want to be your fans. Like you want those people like that are like, hey, I look at that. They didn't cross the streams there. Like
for sure.
That's legit. Like they're doing that right.
How many episodes in the season?
20.
Wow, that's so cool. Man.
So it'll take most of the rest of the year to get those done.
So cool. I'm so stoked for you, man.
Yeah, super stoked
to have it back. It must have been a crazy couple years, and now it's back. It's just beautiful, man.
Yeah,
and Apple's crushing.
It's definitely been a journey,
But that's a great network. That's perfect, dude.
Well, I think they don't necessarily have the eyeballs that Netflix does yet, but it's Apple. Like
I watch a lot of things on there. Apple Plus, all that
they'll
stuff.
win. In the end, they're the ones that have the distribution.
No, totally.
They have these. They have all these TVs in everyone's
control
pocket.
And destroy our lives every day with the phones.
Exactly.
One of my
one
of my last questions: are you optimist or pessimist? But I know you're super positive, man.
Yeah, I am. I think. Not to wax too hard on it, but like I want to be. I'm half full. I'm half full most of the time.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? But you have to be realistic about stuff and understand. Like you have to see the signs on the road and like see where things are going. So
totally.
Sometimes the way things have been lately have gotten me down a little.
The last
bit.
couple of years, I mean, we're not perfect, obviously.
But you have to keep going back to what you said earlier, and that's like you have to control the things that you have control over and focus on that. Don't focus on the stuff that you have no control over.
And that's what I learned in the pandemic, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't stress about the tours, all that stuff. I have no control over that, man.
Or even like politics or government or anything.
All that.
Just control what you can control.
I can shut my phone off if I want.
That's right.
News, all that stuff.
That's right.
Shut it out.
Totally. Get it out of your life.
I know, man.
And then you find like you go outside, you get in the sun, you go in the ocean and just submerge.
Yeah, man.
It's like, okay, life is beautiful.
A lot of the time,
so
stuff in the news made it seem like you couldn't even go outside. And then I would just go outside. I see people walking around. I'm like, this is life. This is living.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Like when I walk around and just see other people, I'm like, the news said this city is this or this is that. I went to New York and it was said all the stuff I got there. It wasn't even like that. You just have to get out and live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And we need each other. Like we need each other. We need to connect. So
important.
Any messaging that's telling you stay away from people is bad messaging.
It's crazy, man. And we're losing so many people too. Depression, anxiety, suicide, all the highest it's ever been. All that, man. And kids not going to school and being interactive with their friends, and then social media all day long and all the negative aspects of that and those dark holes. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's scary being a parent, man. It's just scary. It's just the world. It's intense.
For sure.
That's why I try to stay positive, try to stay in my bubble, hang out with
But
positive
you're a
people.
positive guy. And that, again, I think, do you remember Ron Cameron, like back in the day, he rode for Blockhead and he did that, like he did a lot of graphics. Anyway, he was telling me about like skateboarders, like they have a different way of thinking about things, and it usually ends up positive. Like if you're skating, you're still you're 52, you're a positive person, and people need people like you. People need positivity. You know what I mean? Because you have no hangups. You're not like, oh, I can't do like amazing 360 flips, and so I shouldn't even skateboard. You know,
there's some tricks I know not to even try anymore.
Yeah, me too.
And ones I still enjoy doing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But you're moving forward, and that's what Ron was trying to say with that kind of progressive mentality that comes from people that skate. Yeah, is you're moving. You know that if you fall, you hit a rock and fall, you're just going to get up and keep going.
100%.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. We just got to keep sewing that into the fabric of our civilization. It's like let's keep going. We'll pick up the pieces and keep moving. You know.
Yeah. And also like not take ourselves so seriously and enjoy life and live and not stress about little things, because at the end of the day it doesn't really matter. There's so many things people stress about that really just like really. There's a lot really.
Totally.
There's so many things going on in the world. That's like. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. Are you on social media a lot? Do you check your DMs? Are you?
You know, we had that podcast. Jimmy and I had that podcast we were doing, and I never had my own Instagram thing until we had our podcast. Yeah. And I only did it just for like to promote basically the podcast. But now we're not doing it. I post on it maybe once or twice a week.
Does Gabba have an Instagram?
Yo Gabba, we're restructuring it. We're doing it. We're going to do a new one.
That's going to crush.
And Aquabats, of course, has one. And that stuff gets posted on there every day. And I was doing that for a long time. But I found like the more I was on Instagram, the like more negative I was getting. You know? Right?
You see so many things on there, man. It's
But I mean, it's even just the like constant flow of images, and then you look down and you're like, I've been doing this for 45 minutes.
If you check your time you spend on your phone, it's gnarly.
I'm almost dead.
It's like what
am I doing? I know. I need to go outside and skate.
It's great to promote. Obviously your kids are probably on social media, right?
A little bit, but we've been pretty strict with like phones. Like even our high school kids, they don't have internet on their phones.
Oh wow.
And
that's amazing.
My 16-year-old, we let him get an Instagram account, and like he abandoned it in like 2 months. He's like, I'm over it. This is dumb. And he must have seen something that he didn't like, or like something bummed him out. And he was just like, I'm over it. I'm done. And I'm stoked for him. Like, congratulations. Yeah. I'm still stuck in the trap. Because I do like it. I like checking in on people, and I like seeing what you're doing. I like seeing what Steve's doing. You know, I like.
My son's barely on it. I try to tell him like, hey, if you're promoting, like he does modeling, so post that picture for me, shoot, or I don't know, once in a while, because he's barely on it. He's always just surfing, skating,
That's
working.
Great,
I love
though.
That.
That's great.
Never played video games, drums. He's so active in other ways.
Yes.
But also, if he is trying to promote something, I'm like, hey, just post that or something. But he's never. So that's pretty cool too. Yeah, just outside living as a Cali kid.
He's going to do great. He's already doing great. But
he's focused.
But he's got He's got a great foundation where he comes from, and the fact that he's his age and he doesn't hardly do social media that's treasure.
He's only one of his friends who's straight edge of all his friends too.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I was just like him as a kid. I was just hyperactive skateboarder. You know what I mean? It's knock on some sort of wood. But yeah, I'm very lucky though. You know what I mean?
For Micah,
it's crazy that we don't own our children. Like we created them, we raised them, we instill compassion and love and everything we can. Then they just go. We don't own this. They just go. They
just
go
let
into
them
the
go.
world. It sucks. Yeah. Like that leaving the nest syndrome. I have that. I always talk about on this podcast how Billy Alex lives at home. I was like, man, you can stay home as long as you want.
Yeah.
Awfully different world, but I love having my son home. It is. I don't know.
That's great.
I know it's crazy.
100%. Yeah. My daughter went off to college a couple years ago, and it was like.
Was that hard?
Super hard. And now every time she comes home, we're like, just stay. Just don't go back. Oh, man. She's like, I have to. I'm like, no, don't. So I think she's actually going to move home this summer. She's going to move back.
So is it just you and your lady at home now and no kids?
So my wife and I have 4 kids.
Wow.
So my wife and then my daughter is in college. My oldest son is in Virginia.
Yep.
And he's doing a mission thing. And then my 2 younger boys, I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're like way into like soccer, like they're big soccer guys, you know.
So we get two at home. That's great.
We watch all the like Premier League games.
That's
and
cool,
we
man.
like, you know, really into the Champions League right now. And
that's cool. Are you a big soccer guy too?
I never was growing up, obviously, but from my kids,
cool.
they got me into it. I'm
loving our kids get us into
I'm
stuff,
so
dude.
into it now. I'm probably more into it than they are. Like I'll wake up at 4:30 to watch games sometimes.
Wow.
You know, like just this is an important game. But and I was kind of like that with basketball for a while, and then I don't know. I just kind of burned. I get burned on stuff.
Yeah.
Just, but I'm really into soccer. It's still new. It's still new to me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's cool. Yeah, I'd love to skate with you sometime.
Yeah, we got to skate.
Yeah, surf. I mean, I could try to.
We got to surf.
It's too cold right now, but yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know Tim Shaw from back
yeah,
east?
Ensign. Yeah.
Ensign, Tim Shaw.
Like he surfs out there in Asbury.
He comes
right,
out here sometimes and surfs too. So maybe next time he's out here, we'll all get together.
I love that. I also want to give you your hair props because I have a hair envy, but your hairline's perfect. You have a good head of hair.
Oh, thank you.
You have good hair, man.
I got my John Joseph Cro-Mags Age of Quarrel.
Check you out, dude. You do, man. You got good hair.
My buddies and I, you know, we were in the punk, and so we were doing all kinds of different hair styles. But when Age of Quarrel came out and we saw his fade on the back, we're like, that's it. And like I've always had the John Joseph fade ever since.
That is so incredible. Shout out to John Joseph, my brother. That's amazing.
Yeah.
She kept that same cut.
Oh, man, I love it.
East Coast vibes.
I mean, I let it grow out sometimes, and it gets a little like
I've seen
Mark Mothers by.
Did you have a beard too?
I grow a beard sometimes, but I always go back to
I love it, man.
To John Joseph.
Well, I appreciate.
I'm reading his book right now too, which is pretty amazing. The first one. Yeah. Amazing.
You know what's even sicker? There's an audio book. It's so long, like for long drives or flights.
Is he reading? Is he reading?
Incredible, man.
It's his voice. Oh, I want to do that. That's cool.
It's so cool because you feel like you're there. You know.
Yeah, I just finished. Set the Boy Free, the Johnny Marr story. The Johnny Marr book. That's a really good one.
Okay.
Like I don't know if you're into the Smiths or not.
No,
but like,
Smiths are cool.
It's cool. It's cool to hear the story from basically the guy that started the band, like the guitar player. He doesn't get as much credit.
Okay.
But it's cool to hear his story. Like anyway,
that's cool,
interesting.
Man. So you read
because he's an amazing guitar player. I try.
I gotta step up my.
I love reading books. Like I love it, but. It takes so long.
It does, man.
I'm reading like 4 books at one time, and
so you have a good attention span.
I don't know about that.
I'm
pretty sure I have ADD.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure. Ask anyone that I work with; they'll be like, "Oh yeah."
All my friends say that, but I never been diagnosed. But all my friends say that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't focus on a book, man. It's just hard. I know it's good for me on my brain. You know.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for you.
Yeah.
But I fall asleep faster now when I'm reading books.
At nighttime, and that's nice.
I read in bed and like I'm out in like 2 minutes.
I like that.
Yeah, if you have a hard time sleeping, but it doesn't seem like you're super healthy. Like you eat right.
I'm on a juice cleanse right now, 4th day right now, and no food.
Oh wow!
So I'm gonna end that pretty soon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty over it. Right?
Yeah, ready to go to sleep.
I'm just pounding juice, but man. I lost like 9 pounds in 3 days of like water weight, which is crazy right now.
Whoa, that is crazy.
I do it a lot.
I got to do that. I
like to torture myself.
I fluctuate.
Yeah.
I was doing intermittent fasting for a little bit.
It's so good for you.
It's really good.
All my friends do that right now.
But I got COVID 2 months ago.
Okay.
And during COVID.
First time getting it?
Yeah.
Wow.
During COVID, I couldn't eat anything.
Yeah.
Because it all tasted so gross. Everything tasted like metal. I lost a ton of weight.
I lost my smell and taste too.
15 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was weird because the stuff you'd eat, it tasted like so synthetic. I'm like, clearly this is not something that came from nature. Like
no.
Like conspiracy theory.
It happened to me too.
You can call me conspiracy theory if you want, but like if you've been sick before and then you had COVID, you know that like this does not feel like it comes from the earth. Like this is like
it's very strange.
It's plastic. It's like a synthetic. It was like a synthetic sickness. You know what I mean?
Did you lose your smelling taste?
I got weird taste. Like I lost some. I had my smell, but the taste was like plastic. Everything tastes like burnt plastic. Like everything.
It's all good now though,
except for like fruit. Fruit tasted beautiful. So I only ate like a little bit of fruit every day. I lost 15 pounds.
It's so weird.
But then when my taste came back, it was like it came back with a vengeance, and I just wanted to eat everything because I was kind of emaciated from not eating.
Yeah, I lost all weight too.
So then I ate a lot of carbs, and then I fell off my wagon a little bit. You know,
I couldn't smell a taste up for like almost 7 months.
That's insane.
I just got it back like 2 months ago, And now I have friends who like don't drink, who love coffee. They can't drink it no more. It changed the taste of coffee for them.
Yeah.
My wife was smelling weird oil, like car fumes when she wasn't in her car.
Yeah.
And we looked up online. There's all these like lingering effects of it. You can get like different weird things. Yeah.
Right. And like car fumes was just clearly like a toxic smell. Yes. If you're smelling toxins all the time,
that's something I never had before. I know.
Come on.
I know.
Where does that come from?
It's crazy, bro. That's a whole other episode.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get into that because I don't. Because sadly, like,
oh man,
when we were punk rockers, which we still when we were
still
back
are,
in the
bro.
day, and you're questioning things, and you're questioning authority, that's right on.
I know.
But nowadays, it's like if you
can't
start
do that.
questioning stuff, it's like it's
canceled.
political.
You can't do it.
It's so weird. To me that's a weird sign of the times too. It's like,
but
why can't you question stuff anymore? Why can't you say what you mean and mean what you say? Like, why not? Like,
yeah.
And if someone disagrees with you, that's cool. Like, just disagree.
Yeah, it's fine. I have friends who are into all different things, 100%.
Oh, right.
But that's the difference between what the internet world and real life is world.
Yeah.
Here's a real life conversation right here.
That's
Two
right.
adults talking about things. But online, you never win an argument on the internet, and there's all kinds of stuff on there. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a platform and all that. And it's just, that's a different world.
And
dude.
to me, like we look at, it's been what, 20, 30 years since we were punkers, like throwing Black Flag records at cars. Like, like what are those kids online that are so militant about
everything?
What are they going to be like in 20 years? If they're running the show in 20 years, are we all going to like live in camps or what? Your mind has to go there. Like you have to go, you know what I mean?
We don't know.
That's scary to me.
That's
That's scary.
It's like, it's way different.
The kids of today that are so like fiercely narrow-minded is scary to me.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
It's a different world, man. It is.
And calling someone narrow-minded might sound like a hurtful statement that would get me canceled, but
it's not all of them because there's also
it's not.
Yeah,
it's
a lot of people, a lot of kids that my son hangs out with. I was telling a story the other day, like back in the day, people would get called, derogative term, like they could say like gay or fag to somebody. Now my friends are calling people homophobes and they're stepping to people who, you know what I'm saying? It's just a different, different generation that everybody's so united and everybody's all equal, which I love that. And there's a lot of kids like that. There's a generation of positive kids who are trying to make the world a better place.
Sure, yeah.
But then there's also kids online who like to
take it too far.
Like to rat pack and try to cancel people in 24 hours and then go to the next person and, try to flip on people for their opinions.
That makes me nervous.
It's a different world.
But you got you get to your point. There's real life and there's internet.
This is real life, me and you.
And your son is like hardly ever online, so like he's gonna be running the game when in 20 years. You got Max.
There's a lot of people talking on the internet, but there's a lot of people doing things off the internet.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
That makes me feel better.
That's a difference.
All right,
than talking and then doing shit. You know what I'm saying?
Never mind, everybody. I feel great.
Though, but this is your concern as a parent, as a person in this world, as trying to do something positive with everything you do. It's like it's. But this thing, the extension of the human body, to quote Steve Jobs, that's what he wanted to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? This thing's scary, but it also promotes cool things you're doing, shows, whatever you're doing, but.
Yeah, and it can be a teacher and help teach good things and, and then hopefully.
We're doing a part 2 for sure.
Yeah, we should.
We're doing a part 2.
No, I know, I'm taking your time.
We're going to do the canceled episode. Cancel.
Wow.
Stuff.
We won't. If we really like open the can, you know what I mean?
But no, I really appreciate you being here. I'm really stoked for the Gabba Gabba coming back. It's exciting. This is long overdue. Thank you for all your contributions to the world and how you help so many people with your music and
positivity.
Children, man. It's awesome, man.
And we got to keep going for the kids, you know? Like they're going to be running the game. Like, so hopefully the Yo Gabba Gabba kids, when they're running the show in another 10 years and they're in charge, that they remember like that we celebrate differences and we celebrate love and differences aren't just cosmetic. They're also, spiritual difference. There's emotional difference. There's mental differences.
I love it, man.
We celebrate those things and that's how we create the orchestra of the society.
I love it.
Right?
That's a great way to end this. That's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for being here.
You know
man.
me. I could keep talking all day.
No, I love. We're doing a part 2 though, for sure.
Okay.
This is 2.5 hours. Wow.
Wow. That
was
quick.
Wonderful, man.
Hey, thank you, everybody. Thanks for
listening, everybody.
Toby, you're the man.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to hear the next one.